We are live.
Live.
And the Twitter came on just as we came live. How appropriate.
That's
As
awesome.
Twitter seems to be the guiding light of our communique these days. And there's Zach. And hey, Zach, I'm sorry to get back with you. We are full and we'll be on soon. And we'll have you on again very soon, actually. Welcome to America Heals, everybody. We got a good color. We're in good place. This has been one of the craziest weeks of any of our lives. And so it's good to have everybody here tonight. And it's really great to just be able to share this night with Jeff and with Luke and with Ace. Blessings and welcome, guys. How you guys doing?
We're doing well.
Made it.
Well.
Democracy made it.
Still here. Democracy's not dead yet.
There you go. There you go. I like that. It's been on edge, you know. We've been riding on the end of the rails, like the rail car has been on one wheel for a few days, it seems.
Absolutely. I mean,
Definitely.
it's been a crazy time.
Because we won.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah. Does anybody feel shell shocked?
I do.
Yeah. That was unbelievable.
I was talking to Ace earlier on, and I'll have to be honest with you, Marty. I was actually quite upset, and I had to take a minute to contain myself and bring myself together. I'm very upset about what happened yesterday. I'm very upset to hear about what happened to one of the Capitol Police officers. I'm sad. I mean, we won, but I'm sad that this happened in our country, that the world got to see that, and that happened in a place that's supposed to be sacred to our democracy. That's how I feel.
Well, but we still won. We still
won, but we won in November. For Christ's sake.
Well, but we won the Senate, which is big. I don't know, Marty, if you want to share my screen, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, let's kick it off. What we've got tonight is we've just got so much to go through, and before we do the screen, Ace, I think just to do a pregame, we're kind of coming in slow and breathing easy because we're gonna try to chop through a lot. There's been a lot, and we're game. I'm gonna go ahead and put this screen up first, and I'm gonna do it here so that we can look at it. We're gonna do a little bit of an overview of Tuesday once we get going, and Ace has some very special stuff for us to kick off. Of a congratulations. We're gonna go into the Blue Senate, talk about the insurrection. Those are two different islands in the storm. We'll get to. Then we're gonna pull over and we're gonna take a second and talk about the media response because I don't think anyone's really done a postmortem of that yet, and I think we should. Then we're going to go ahead through and discuss what it means to now have terrorist MAGA in our midst. And it's undeniable. And then Trump, we'll just do Trump 1.0. Merrick Garland, President-elect Joe Biden's speech today was amazing. Get into Congress, see where they are. Republican Party, my God, impeach or 25th. Then we'll get into this end stuff and we'll hopefully wrap it up. It's a pile. I'm going to try to do some moderation. I'll jump in when I need to. Any other stuff, guys, as we kick this thing?
Let's rock and roll.
Rock it.
Yeah.
Coolio. There we go. All right, Ace, you're up. Here we come. And I'm going to put this on full screen because we'll be in and out all night. Rock on. Go get them.
All right, we have breaking news. We can now make a projection in one of the two Georgia Senate runoffs. CNN will now project that Democrat Raphael Warnock is elected to the U.S. Senate. The pastor defeating Republican incumbent Kelly Loeffler. This puts Democrats halfway toward their goal of retaking control of the U.S. Senate. It now all comes down to who wins the other runoff. Jon Ossoff is currently in the lead, or incumbent Senator David Perdue. That is your headline. We are projecting that Raphael Warnock has been elected to the U.S. Senate.
A few moments later.
The alert from Atlanta, Georgia. Fox News can now confirm that Jon Ossoff, age 33, a first-time U.S. Senator, will go to Washington after defeating David Perdue, the 71-year-old Republican who was seeking re-election in a razor-tight election, one that could still possibly go to a recount. Fox News projects that Ossoff will win that Georgia Senate seat. So Ossoff, along with Raphael Warnock's victory in the middle of the night over Kelly Loeffler, now enables the Democrats to go 2-0 here in Georgia and now take a simple majority in the U.S. Senate, with Kamala Harris breaking any ties at 50-50. This was, without a doubt, the worst case scenario for the Republican Party over the past 2 months, going back to the election defeat of Donald Trump, to lose
Yeah, boy.
in the Southeast, in a state that has been relatively reliably conservative and Republican for 20 years. Jon Ossoff, the Democratic newcomer, will now be the youngest U.S. senator in history.
Yeah! Oh, better luck next time, buddy. Woo!
That I felt like that really covered
where we
man,
felt,
dude.
where we were psychologically. Yeah. Well,
Very good.
well, what a day
That was a moment of joy.
it was, and it was tense here in Georgia. You know, I hope Ace doesn't mind me saying this, but he was getting nervous there a little bit.
psyching myself out.
As far as like the perspective of being in Georgia at the time, you know, every YouTube video, every TV, commercial, seemed to mostly have Republican, commercials. And then as far as the flyers that we got in the mail, they were predominantly from the Republican side of things. And so, you know, we were rather concerned, like, where's the money going? How are we doing this? But I'll tell you what, when I drove around DeKalb County and Fulton County, I had never seen a response quite like it. Every single front yard, every corner, every inch of every street had Ossoff signs and reminders to go vote, and little messages like, just one more time, Georgia, just one more time. And I have not experienced or seen anything like that in the 20 years that I've lived in Georgia. And Ace and I have lived in Georgia about the same amount of time, and I've never seen an outpouring in that kind of manner. And it seemed to do the trick. What do you think, Ace?
Definitely. I mean, I psyched myself out. I started looking at the numbers, and I was also making, I'm not gonna lie, I was making some nice financial bets on some websites, and hey, we all cashed in. We all cashed in. I bet on Warnock super early. I bet on the Democrats keeping the House, the Senate, or getting the Senate. I won big. We were all pretty happy. We got a couple more bets outstanding on percentages, and we're all cool. But yeah.
So, but then now we got to talk about what happened to the Republican Party, because I'll tell you right now, don't believe that Georgia is a red state yet.
Can I ask a question before we go there?
Yes,
number 12.
absolutely.
Did the Trump rally on Monday night lose votes for the Republicans?
I don't know if the rally did, but I tell you what, that phone call that he had pressuring the Secretary of State, that didn't sit well with people. My wife's family, her parents, they are Trump supporters, not necessarily Trump supporters, more like Republicans. And of course, they're going to support their conservative candidate, which is represented by Donald Trump. So not necessarily within the Trump cult, as it were, but they didn't like seeing that either. It was very reminiscent of what we were told of the description when Donald Trump was twisting the arm of the president of Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really being forceful, pushing this thing. And that happened just the day before. And that did not sit well with Georgians. I don't know about you, but I think everyone understands that conservatives believe in federalism. They believe in separation of the federal government from the states' rights. And it's extraordinary that the president of the executive branch of the federal government is reaching into another state and engaging with an official which doesn't belong to his government and twisting his arm. And if, had Raffensperger, succumbed to that pressure, we would be in a really strange predicament, gentlemen. Basically, the president of the United States from that point onward would be decided by whoever was Secretary of State of all the relevant states.
We would be revisiting a wound that came in 2001 when Al Gore, stepped away. We would be revisiting a wound of the 2016 election when many of us felt like maybe the voting system wasn't working then. And now that we've had the Republican Trump appointed people that have said we've had the most secure election, and Trump has actually lost the election, it actually puts more confirmation in my heart that because he fixes everything he possibly can. And for the election system to be able to not be overrun by him proves that somebody's doing a good job. And that's kind of heartening to me as we kick off this, this other conversation.
I mean, not to back up a week, because we did cover this a fair bit last week, but I really wonder, as late as he had this call and thought he could make anything change, which is just comical in its own right, had he talked to the other two states he would have needed to flip? Or, I mean, was he, in other words, we're talking about right. Georgia, and I get it, but like, even if Georgia had found the votes for him, he still had two more states to pull.
Yep.
Yeah. But
right.
This is the other thing I think that hurt Republicans is the Republicans. They should have sent out money. The $2,000 played very, very well. You know how many people I heard basically saying, "Oh, look, Trump is fighting for us. He wants $2,000." Now, we're a little bit of a politics junkies. We all know that was bullshit. It was never going to happen. But people that don't follow politics, they just hear that the president of the United States told the Congress and the Senate he won't sign anything until people get $2,000, and then they failed them, and they couldn't even get it out of their own way to go, we can just give the Democrats a small little win. We'll win the Senate. I really do believe the Republicans probably would have won one of them if they had given $2,000. The other reason that I think you lose a state like Georgia is kind of going back to what we talked about last week. We are average people. We have average jobs. We're not pundits. All right. Four of us made kind of predictions in the end of our show that any other year would have been nuts.
This was just last Sunday, correct?
Last Sunday, we finished the show and we made predictions, which I love. I think we're going to keep on doing it.
Yep.
And they were outrageous. If you take those predictions and you put them 4 years before us with Obama or even Bush, you would go, what are these guys? Are these guys crazy? We hit on all of our predictions, like point by point by point. It's amazing. That's why you lose. And this is why I don't understand why all of a sudden the Republicans are all running around clutching their pearls going, oh, I didn't know he was like this. Oh, I can't stand for this. We've been talking about it since the beginning. We've been saying. So it doesn't feel great, but it does feel a little bit like different inside to know that all this time I was not crazy. We were not crazy. We were just informing people, hey, this is going to end very poorly. This guy wants to be a dictator.
And we began the sort of end of the last show when I made a point to say that we are doing something that as citizens, our forefathers and foremothers would have never believed we could do. As simple citizens, we're on it. We have the network capability of being able to reach out and talk as an individual person. I'm not getting paid for this. None of these guys are getting paid for this, but we've been energized to lean into this. And so as we do that, this gets into the part of the healing, which is we have to find the truth. And a lot of times the truth has to come through process and conversation and trial and error and changing of one's mind and growth. So anyway, part of what we're doing is we put a little bit on the line with our predictions for last week. And I think it's time to flip into that because the list is still here. We got time of cooking. So Ace, am I ready to go here?
This is you first. Am
I the first prediction? Okay.
First prediction. This is from last year, from last Sunday.
Last Sunday. Yeah. So I'm gonna close with a prediction that is probably not much of a reach in that we have not seen the worst of Donald Trump's behavior yet this week. I think he's going to continue to get worse because what is now out, he only knows how to try to explain away with his charm and his style and all that stuff, and he won't stop talking, and it's going to make it worse. So that hopefully everything does go right on the 6th. I think it will, but I think that he is going to continue to unravel, and it's going to force the Republicans to have to really face what they're doing as they come into the inauguration and afterwards. So
A few moments later.
We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
So I finished that one. I mean, you're spot on. This was before this happened. You yourself said he's going to get himself, it's going to be worse. And that's what he did. That was his last closing. And there's another section which we can talk about later where he basically said, we're going to go and walk and show them what we mean. Just like you said it was going to be.
Yep.
I mean, it's amazing. It's just,
Well,
it's amazing in a bad way.
it is, and it leans into the drip of the constant belief that he's got some other next thing and that this was the storm. And we'll get into that later, but yep, he doesn't stop talking. So you got the next one?
Here's Jeff's prediction.
Flashback.
Jeff, you got anything before we head out?
Just for the fun of it, I'm just going to do something crazy and vote under. I'm going to take the under bet, and I'm going to guess that Congress gets some important memos overnight for the next couple nights from their leadership, and suddenly the 6th goes almost exactly the way it normally goes. I'm going to predict that they're getting memos right now that Donald Trump has lost his shit, and it's time to save your ass and worry about your reelection and not follow this guy out. It's over. It's pointless. It's futile. Don't do it. Not to say there won't be at least a state that creates some sort of objection, but I predict they're going to whimper and stop. But that's just an outside chance. I think what's really going to happen probably is objections and futility and political posturing and people can yell on the mic. But I'm gonna hedge my bet with under. They all just get it together before the 6th, which of course will be bad for the streets, right? Because then all these people that want to destroy the Republican Party are going to be like, hey, they all quit on us.
A few moments later.
Are there any objections to counting the certificate of vote of the state of Arizona that the teller has verified appears to be regular, informed, and authentic?
Mr. Vice President, I, Paul Gosar from Arizona.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Arizona rise?
I rise up for myself and 60 of my colleagues to object to the counting of the electoral ballots from Arizona.
Is the objection in writing and signed by a member and a senator?
Mr. President, prior to the actions and events of today, we did, but following the events of today, it appears that some senators have withdrawn their objection.
Woo! Woo! Nailed it.
Nailed it.
Right?
Thank God.
Kind of between my hedge and the real bet. I mean, that was pretty much
You
both.
got it right on.
Pretty much, yeah.
You got it right on.
There was a memo that fell into my lap this morning, and
if I predicted a raid on the Capitol in between,
you missed the raid, but
then I'd be Rain Man if I picked that one.
You right on. And this one is from me. This is my prediction coming up.
Ace, can you add that, or do I have to?
I just shared it.
Okay, cool. I just didn't know if you were able to add it.
What do you mean? Oh no, I reshared it.
No, I got it. Okay, cool. I'll put it up.
Here we go.
Flashback.
Any final predictions for this upcoming week that we don't want to miss, and then we'll wrap this thing up.
I think people are going to get hurt. I actually do. This is the first. I've always never followed the rhetoric of the MAGA people. I think this is their this is where they're going to start some people are going to get too many people are talking too amped up. It only takes a couple of people to start firing or doing something, and things can get fairly nasty. And although I really hope it doesn't happen, but I think this time around, I think the MAGA people are really riled up to do something. Unfortunately, and I hope that that doesn't happen, but I fear that it might.
A few moments later.
So yeah, that unfortunately, I'm not happy about my prediction, but we all thought that was going to happen. Probably later on today we'll have a conversation of how we all knew this was going to happen, but no one in the Congress, police, or anybody else knew this was going to happen. It's amazing that either they were too stupid, they didn't want to do it, or they were in on it. I don't get how that could be possible. That 4 people die, you don't have anybody surrounding the place. You're not prepared. There needs to be an investigation done. And
so we've been doing this show and it's been on and off, but sort of Thursday to Sunday, and things obviously happen in between, which makes it interesting enough to pick up a couple days. Sunday night, we did this late into the night on Sunday, ending at midnight Eastern time. And we were dealing with the process and audio from the Trump phone call. And we were scandalized and looking at what was coming. And so these predictions happened at that moment in time. Monday came along, and then Tuesday came along, as we're going to go into in just a second. This has been such a hard week for everybody because every day has been a chapter and they can't be forgotten. Ace, is there one more that you wanted to do? Or
we got Zach, even though.
I forgot about Zach.
Props. It's a perfect way to kind of finish this one up.
Heck yeah.
Flashback.
Zach, any predictions for the week?
I predict that on January 6th, everything is going to go exactly how we on this panel expect it to go, and Joe Biden will be the next president. I also predict that Reverend Raphael Warnock will win that Senate race. So that is what I'm confident predicting now.
Okay, thank you.
A few moments later.
All right, we have breaking news. We can now make a projection in one of the 2 Georgia Senate runoffs. CNN will now project that Democrat Raphael Warnock is elected to the U.S. Senate. Defeating Republican incumbent Kelly Loeffler, this puts Democrats halfway toward their goal of retaking control of the U.S. Senate.
4 for 4.
Hey, baby, that's it.
4 for 4. Amazing.
I think that went on to do the reading that Joe Biden was picked as president also.
Oh, did I just shut it off? I'm sorry.
No.
That one didn't.
It's fine.
It was fine. We all know he got
4
picked
for
as
4.
president also.
So good job.
Kelly Loeffler gone.
Yeah.
Bye.
David Perdue gone.
And Loeffler, to her credit, if any credit is due, had said she was one of the, I think it was supposed to be 14 that were going to object, and she did not.
Well, there's an
after the violence.
I mean, that's not a lot of credit. It's like this much credit.
She played him actually, because essentially she was staying out of it. She was not going to do that. She pushed off on it. And the day he arrived for that big rally in Georgia, he basically told her, hey, you either do this and I'll endorse you or you don't. So she jumped in and went, I'll do it. And then when she lost, she said, why would I object? I already lost. Why double down on the loss? It's she played him.
There are puppies to kick. I could get on with my life.
Yeah. I got billions of dollars to spend.
I can go beat seals this afternoon. Why would I be here?
And 8 senators went ahead and did it. But
if you ever watch the video of Loeffler saying that, Donald Trump's standing behind it, and he does the worst acting performance. Like, oh well, I'm shocked that she would. Did you really? Yeah. Okay. Just look, he's right there.
All right, you guys. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna move us on. Here, Jeff, I'm gonna put this back up so that people know where we are. Here's to the audience. Please invite your friends. Please like and share this thing. Please hit the subscribe button on YouTube Live. We're moving over to YouTube Live and other places too. But at this point, and we're going to be moving that around too. So please just like and share what we're doing, because we're about to hit the gas. In the next hour or so, we're going to cover a lot, and we're going to start right now. So there's where we are. It's about time to move into, because Ace, I'm going to tell you to keep that last video of the congressperson until we get to Congress.
Okay.
Is that okay? I was thinking about it. I think that'll fit right there.
Point 11. That's point 11.
And it'll kick us off. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to start out with an overview of Tuesday. And I'm going to let the three of you answer the questions, and I'm going to run this part of it and keep us moving. And I want your reactions, and I want any insights, if you want to give them, on these subjects so we can move through Tuesday, January 5th. And I'm going to do them in some order, okay? So here's the first one, and I'll say, Jeff, you're the first one to go on this round. Georgia,
the lightning round.
It is. We're going to start with, I guess, a bit of a lightning round. It doesn't have to stay that way if you've got more to say. Number one, Georgia is purple for the next 20 years.
True. I would agree with you 100%. First of all, I think a lot of the country that's been marginal is going to turn blue for quite a while after all this crap. So anything that was marginal, I think, is blue now.
Purple, Jeff, or purple, Ace and Luke. Purple. The fight is on. It's a fight.
It's going to be a fight. The biggest thing that's going to be important is we got to make sure we win the governorship, because I don't know if you guys saw, Kemp is going to be out. He's done.
Everyone hates him.
We don't want a worse Kemp to come in, because don't forget, the reason that Kemp is going to be out is because he wasn't part of this coup attempt. So we don't want to replace a guy that will be part of the coup attempt. And the good thing about winning is we win. The only minor downside of winning is you showed your playbook, and the playbook is mail-in ballots. And if they have a Republican Secretary of State and a Republican governor, they will destroy mail-in ballots, and we won't have enough time to fix it.
Luke?
Well, I think it's going to be a fight.
State, baby. A purple state.
It will become a purple state, but not just yet. We were lucky. We were very fortunate to get this purple result right now, and we have a lot to thank to Donald Trump for doing everything he could to sabotage the Republican candidates. But I can tell you right now, the first thing that let me just remind everybody, we have a Republican governor, Republican lieutenant governor, Republican secretary of state. We have a Republican House, a Republican Senate. We have all the justices that we have in our Supreme Court are all Republican, and we have more Republican houses of representatives in DC than we do have Democrats. This is still quite a red state. We were very lucky to win those two, and it was only because the other side kept throwing and fumbling the ball. They didn't want to win, I guess, and that just let us win. So have a good one. But here's what you need to watch out for, and this is something that I would encourage the entire country to pay attention to now that Georgia is in the spotlight, and that is there's a couple of things that the legislature will have up their sleeve. Having watched what just happened, they will require an excuse to cast an absentee ballot. They will ban absentee ballot drop boxes. They will mandate photo ID to be included when returning to an absentee ballot. They will eliminate mobile voting buses during early voting, forbid governments and organizations from mailing absentee ballot applications. These things will come up on the docket for over the next couple of year and a half, and they will force that crap through. And they will do everything they can to make sure that we don't come out and vote again, because as we all know, when the Democrats come out, we win, and they will do everything in their power to stop that from happening.
I'd like to add one thing at the end of that, which is we need to be naming that list and making noise about that list, because you and I both know that Joe Biden's administration is going to try to at least do a federal voters act of some kind, and they need to know every state's details so that they can supersede that exact thing, because they know that that's true in Texas and in Georgia and more and more in Florida.
And by the way, I stole that from the Republicans, so that's not conjecture from the other side.
Yeah, no, I've been hearing it all day.
That's their ideas.
I've been listening to it all day, Henry.
What they want to do.
Okay, so number 2, and I'm gonna go to you, Luke. I'm gonna go to you quickly. What getting the Senate means? What does it mean?
That Joe Biden can pass. He can put everyone. Everyone gets nominated. That he wanted to get nominated. It means that he can then go ahead and start the work of rebuilding this country and repairing the infrastructure that has been damaged over the last 4 years.
Ace, I'm going to ask you a different question in that same way. When you learned that it was a done deal and beyond the betting, what washed over you as a newer to politics kind of guy that had just occurred?
Because I'm a different person than Luke. The first thing that went to me is we're in power. Now we lead and we do things that we want to do. And if you don't want to get on the bus or on the train, we're going to leave you behind. So we can finally start doing actual progress that will help the working person, and they will come back and vote Democratic next time because they've been sold a bad bill of goods on Democrats just want socialism. They want government to take over. And I know that's not the case. You make good policies. You help poor people. You help working class people. They will come back and vote for you. And my left friends, you guys will join us, and we will go with a progressive policies, some more progressive policies. The socialist guys, you guys have a third party. You're on your own.
Jeff,
it took me a day.
What does this thing mean, dude?
It took me a day for it to hit me, but Mitch McConnell was sitting on all these bills because he didn't want to put them on the floor so that they'd fail and they'd have to take credit for killing it. So now they just slide over to Schumer's desk, right? And Schumer can just deal them out like freaking Uno cards, and they can just pass.
You get a bill.
Yeah. So instead of being a big boy and Mitch killing those bills, all he did was save them for a Democratic Congress that can now pass them all. And so what's going to happen is we're going to have this flurry of legislative victories right at the beginning to start that road of making America great for everybody. You know, that Build Back Better, that, you know, the bricks are all laying on Mitch's desk and we get to just throw them on the wall. It's going to be great.
Okay, this is my third note, and I don't need much from any of you. It says the third note, and I wrote this down on Tuesday night late. I sent it to Jeff deep into the night just so I had some notes to remember. And it said, technically, Pence took a stand publicly before tomorrow. So is there any words on that at this moment? That one moment in time where he did take a stand and said, "I won't be." And I guess he did. He did preside over the Senate.
The whole time. He didn't.
The whole time.
He was going to leave and then come back. He did it the whole time.
I think several things happened there. Pence being there when the riot broke out and Trump did nothing. You guys realize we had the vice president and the Speaker of the House together while it was being raided. So secession would go back to the cabinet, if I'm not mistaken. So here we have this serious secession problem and safety issue. And apparently Trump was somewhat enjoying the whole situation.
Yeah. And
so I think Pence kind of, you guys have all hated Pence. I think I'm the only person that's been somewhat lukewarm on Pence because I think Pence is a seasoned politician. I don't like his politics, but he recognized there's nothing I can do to fight this except for destroy my own reputation. So he was like a boulder in the stream with Trump rushing around him. Now Trump, of course, is throwing him under the bus like he always does. And I think it's just another example. I think obviously a lot of this is politics, but when you see Lindsey Graham talk against it, when you see Mitch McConnell talk against Trump trying to overthrow the election, I think all these things kind of came together with the riot, and now Trump has put himself really on an island.
Pence public stand, Henry.
Pence knows that the government and the country is bigger than the individual, and he wanted to execute his oath of office, carry out his ceremonial duty. He was actually there. His first day in business was watching Al Gore say goodbye to the presidency as a vice president, as the president pro temp, after he lost by a measly 500 votes or whatever the heck it was. So, and then on top of that, whilst all this mayhem's going on, he's probably finding out that his own chief of staff is being denied access to the White House. And Donald Trump has been lambasting him in front of a crowd of people who've now come to ravage the Capitol building. So Mike Pence is, he does have some very important redeeming qualities. And I tell you what, I mean, he has an opportunity to really save his. He's a person that, like Jeff said, we don't really agree with his politics, and everything he does isn't sincere. And I know my more left-wing friends aren't going to like to hear speaking so highly of him, but you got to give people credit where it's due, and he did his job. It would have been much more difficult if, the vice, if he didn't play the role that he did.
Well, we're going to get into where he's at today a little bit later, because I think on Tuesday I felt a little different about Mike Pence than I did on Wednesday, and then again today, because on Wednesday, he seemed to carry the ball and did some really good things. I think the best thing he did was quarterback the fact that we're just going to get back to work. And I think that it was a surprising move, but within 25 minutes of them back to the work in the Senate, I understood the genius of the move of saying, no, fuck those guys. We will not, we'll clean up their cigarette butts and we'll make sure that there's no bombs. And then we're back to work, because these guys are punks and they get to step the fuck back. Pardon my French.
Sure.
Pence on Tuesday night. Anybody else? Going. All right. This is a switch gears, but it has to be named because it's a mark in time. Hong Kong crackdown on democracy advocates happened on Tuesday. Anybody want to talk about that at all?
I saw this. This was actually, it's quite heartbreaking. This is what happens by Donald Trump's plan when you pull back from the world. While he's on one, this is the thing that really got me mostly into politics, is because basically Donald Trump says one thing and then all of his policies do the opposite. And weirdly enough, some of his policies are opposite intentionally, and some of his policies are opposite because they're just idiots. While they're bashing China and saying, "Oh, China is the biggest power, they're so terrible," they got away from the world and allowed China to have now more control, more citizens under control, more land. So we lost the democracy. We'll never get it back, because unlike there's no winning a Chinese war of any kind. There's too many people, and we are dependent on them for everything. So it's going to take ages to ever get back to where we can pull this back. It's lost. It's gone. That portion of those people are now just under communism, and it's over. You lost it. This is what happens.
Is that enough? Anybody else?
I mean, it's just basically a lesson to what happens when you step back from the world stage, which is, basically what's been going on for the last 4 years. When you embrace protectionism, the rest of the world runs amok. And it's just an example of it's now a tough time for the United States to maintain the moral high ground when we can't keep our stuff together, when we are having people running through our holes and saying that we're not running fair elections. It gives people in despotic areas of the world free license to get up to no good and say, well, you guys are no better. And that's something that people have worried about. Even General Mattis was worried about this. He didn't want to pull out of Syria because he didn't want to set that trend for the future where who knows what could happen. The United States military is in another corner of the world, and we turn to local people and we say, hey, we want to ally with you and address the situation. They say, oh, you want to ally with us? You mean like you did to the last crowd? You left them hanging. And that's why we really need to make sure that we maintain that moral authority and it's a shame that that's now that the situation in Hong Kong has now gotten away from itself, and it's very difficult for us now to really say shit about it.
Just a quick addition I forgot to add. Think about when this happened. This didn't happen a month ago. It could have. 2 months ago, it could have. This happens right now, and this is, I think, the scariest portion of this 12, 13 days left is we are very, very vulnerable. We have no president, essentially, because he is nuts.
Yeah.
And Chinese have been monitoring this, and look at where they did it. Boom, right before we're going into this January 6th election, we're all over. We can't do anything about it. We have 12 days to deal with it.
Side question. Is there any chance that there are Chinese spies in the Capitol Police Union?
I don't know, but we definitely need to look into that.
I'm just saying, man, how is all of this somehow known about and not known about at the same time? Whatever. I know that's deep. That's deep, but everything's on the table right now, baby.
Yeah, I don't know about everybody else. Marty, you went Max Headroom there for about 20 seconds.
Yeah,
you seem to be back.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was like,
I can't do anything about it.
But you
Oh, did you not hear what I said?
Not really. You said something about Chinese spies in the police union or something?
Yeah, I was asking a sort of rhetorical question of whether,
Right, that's kind of what I heard, but I wasn't positive.
You got it.
Could have been Chinese spies.
I think the Chinese government definitely watches the United States, and when we are not paying attention, they take advantage.
Well, and checking out what our police unions are up to is another discussion, because that's part of this conversation tonight. I was kind of being a joker, but it came back to bite me as Max Headroom. All right, next. And this is, thank you guys. So the next two go together, and this is Tuesday night. And Henry, will start with you. Actually, Jeff, I'll start with you this time. Tuesday night, I put two things down. Number one was growing MAGA anger, and then the Proud Boys take DC day one. Where were we Tuesday night?
That's a great question. Tuesday, I watched some rallies where they all got on the mic. I think Marty, you and I were in there. We were watching the same scope. And so they were scoping. First of all, they managed to get them all to put their hands out in front of themselves and up. They were praying, but it was very much the Heil Hitler pose, which I thought was absolutely hilarious that a bunch of Trumpers wouldn't think twice about that. But anyway, I found it very interesting that at their rallies, and I noticed it repeated as other people came up and talked, it wasn't just Trump. It was very much a package deal. It was very much pro-life, very Christian message, Trump. They bundled multiple issues. I just found it very strange how much this wasn't just a, Trump, the election, which is what you would expect it to be. They went full on political agenda. Each person that I saw spoke about Jesus Christ and God and judging us, which I thought was extremely strange for a political rally. And then, they had a Right to Life lady up there. And I mean, anyway, I found it bizarre how much their rally seemed to focus on the entire political wave, as opposed to just discussing, the Stop the Steal and the things I thought they were there for. And I guess I find it a little strange that so many people would all have such uniform beliefs on all these broad topics. But that was my 2 cents on Tuesday. I mean, besides that, I can't remember. They didn't do much Tuesday night, did they?
They got in some fights. There were fights Tuesday night on the streets. What was really interesting is that there were a couple of fight scenes. If you go back to the Tuesday night ones, the entire fight lasted 12 seconds. And within the first 3 seconds, I was watching it all night long, just kind of looking at it. And it was fascinating as to what amazing police work was being done on Tuesday night. There were 3 or 4 rows of police. There was about a 6'8" captain or someone who had his mask on and was basically just watching the whole thing. There was an encounter with the cops. They pull 1 or 2 people in. They push the rest of the guys back. They get back into order, pull this is all within 12 seconds, pull the person into the back to start, booking them or whatever they're going to do. And it was full and total order. And I was watching that and I was amazed at the discipline and the clarity of those police. And I almost started Twittering, because I'm wont to do that. I was like, oh my God, great policing. And I started looking at some of the comments, and it reminded me of something that I missed. And what I missed was the comments reminded me of, why didn't you beat the shit out of them like you do everybody else? Why didn't you crack their fucking skulls? Why didn't you, curb stomp every one of them like you've done to the Black Lives Matter rallies, when you just pick on somebody and just beat the shit out of them in the street? Where's all that policing? And so I obviously didn't, but But it was one of those moments where I was seeing something so well done that I'd forgot what other experiences happen. And that's part of my privilege, part of what I forget. And so that leads us into, I guess if you guys have anything to say on that night.
Yeah, if you could share, Luke wants to share the screen.
Yes, sir.
Sure, everybody on here has seen videos. Help the FBI out.
I'm going to make it full screen. Go, just keep talking.
This is where we get to voice our concerns, and they're already up to over 100 people. They're arresting them, and another thing that I kind of want to talk to about, just a random thing, is I would be very interested to see what they're going to charge these people. Couple of months ago, there was a small story. It didn't get much leverage, but basically the Trump administration changed how people that damaged monuments, how much, what we're going to get charged with. And they were being charged with the highest prosecution at 10 years. So I'm interested to see if these people are going to be charged with, they'll be charged with a federal crime, but what crime? Are they being charged with trespassing, or are they being charged with a sedition or something a little bit more that's in the 10, 15-year range, just like the Black Lives Matter people were being charged 10 years for throwing something at a statue? That's something I kind of want. I'm interested to see what these bigger guys, the guy that was sitting in Nancy Pelosi's office, what are they going to charge him with? Just trespassing? That could be a year. I want to see the full book then thrown at him.
Lindsey Graham came out today saying that he expects that every single person that breached the gate, and he said he will spend the next Friday morning of every 6 years, of every week for the next 6 years, and every single person will be identified and they will be brought to justice with at least a sedition and trespass and potentially more charge, because that is how the Republicans are going to rid themselves, at least the Republican elites are going to rid themselves of this stain. So if you're a person who crossed that barrier, I don't know what to tell you. You made a big
Someone
mistake.
put up Zach, domestic terrorism. Don't forget that Antifa was labeled a terrorist group.
Yeah.
And President-elect Joe Biden today, I thought it was very interesting that all of the newspapers across the country, including the New York Times, made sure and used the word mob last night. In the headlines this morning, the word mob was in every paper's headlines.
I've been using the word thug intentionally too.
Well, mob is critical as well, because then when Joe Biden came on today to introduce Merrick Garland, he spoke to it and he utilized the words just after saying the words a president uses matters. He said domestic terrorists. He said insurrectionists and domestic terrorists. And so it's going to move to a level where, because you were part of this, and I won't continue, but I'll say this. I think it's going to be a RICO charge. I think they're a gang, and I think that's how they roll Trump and his entire family up. And every single one of those people is part of a gang that was literally told to walk across the street and go do violence. Lynn Wood, while they were walking, sent stuff saying, kill President Trump on there. I mean, that was straight up on his email. At the same time, these people were directed. I'll be done. There's more to say.
And then, by the way,
guess who's an expert? Guess who was the first expert at RICO charges?
Yes, sir. Mr. Giuliani.
Mr. Giuliani. They couldn't figure out how to get the mob and get rid of the mob from New York until Mr. Giuliani realized he could use this thing that a law professor was talking about called RICO. And it's going to be ironic if they end up using that, and it's going to be ironic if they end up using the thing that Ace was talking about, because it will have been a law that Donald Trump passed that will increase the severity of their punishments.
I want to use Giuliani's trial by combat.
We'll get to trial by combat.
Real tough guy.
Yeah. We'll get to
we're kind of jumping around. I don't know what we want to talk about at the moment, because I don't know.
We're on order.
I'm almost done. I'm almost done. The last thing.
Skip it back to Wednesday, basically.
Jeff, but I knew we needed to do this and have this anchor, because otherwise we'd never talk about anything that happened on Tuesday.
Right.
Last thing, and Jeff, you get the run, and then Luke, you get this one. COVID rising, new strain moving, our lockdown's imminent. Let's go there for 2 minutes.
Okay,
I'm working you.
I actually have quick graphics. I'll bring up on the screen you were sharing.
You want me to, while you're, God, I hope not. This would be terrible if we have to shut down, although it is imminent. All the other countries are doing it. Unfortunately, because I feel like Donald Trump has been tanking this country on purpose. So Joe Biden has no chance of succeeding quickly. We might have to. I mean, LA is running out of, they have no beds. They're running out of air. They're telling people that are having heart attacks, if they're older, they're telling EMS not to even pick them up. This is as bad as it's going to get. I also question where our government is and why a Navy armada has not been shipped to LA to treat people. I'm confused why the vaccines are a ginormous disaster. They're sitting in boxes. We have over 75 million vaccines ready to be deployed, and no one's even touched them. This is the problem. And
wait. You mean all of our world isn't revolve around Donald Trump?
No, unfortunately not. But he has been, because he's been doing so poorly. I would hope we wouldn't have to shut it down, because it would go into the narrative that he built in of all Democrats want to do is shut you down. But Democrats just want to save lives. And I hope it's not, we're not going to have to, but it is going to be a very rough couple of months.
Jeff.
I will say secondhand information. I know in Kansas, we're way behind on reporting. There's a database, but no staffing nor training. So they're very far behind on logging in the vaccines they've given. So like Kansas looks like really bad. Like I believe it's red on CNN's map of giving like 50% of the doses. My wife feels primarily that's off the record, feels that's a reporting issue. And then this is total cases since election day. You know, we had 9,700,000 total cases, and this isn't active cases. This is total cases ever. And you can see we're up in like the 23 million now. So as much as Donald Trump wished this would go away election day, it obviously did not. And then, of course, the first chart I had up there was new cases daily, and then, unfortunately, daily deaths, which, of course, you know, that's where, of course, Luke and my wife see it is obviously as these deaths are up high, your hospital capacities are high. You know, this back here was bad, but this was in New York, LA, Washington, you know, spread out a bit across the country. But when you get out here, this is full everywhere, basically. So I think you mentioned shutdowns in the middle of that. I've been kind of proud of myself that I don't necessarily run around claiming shutdown. But that said, if people aren't going to wear masks and be responsible, socially distance, I don't know, not raid the Capitol building without a mask on, you know, it's just unfortunately as the infection rate, you know, the infection rate is going to be finite. So it's all about behavior. If everyone's exposing themselves to each other and doing family holidays and everything else, you know, obviously like what LA is dealing with, they've been locked down, I think, the whole year because they have no beds. I mean, how can they open up restrictions if their hospitals are totally and completely full? Yeah. I mean, you know, if people won't follow the guidelines, you tie a city's hands. They're sitting there going, well, what are we going to do? We're just going to shoot people in the street when they have COVID. I mean, we don't have no place to treat them. What do you do next?
Mr. Luke.
Well, what more can I add? I'm in healthcare, and you know they're rationing care in Los Angeles, for instance. But I was following, you know, friends that worked out there, and it was 2 months ago when they started seeing that the ICU beds were diminishing in availability, and so this is just something that has been foreseen for the longest time. But I can't imagine. I mean, it's for all of you to just try to imagine for a second the challenge of the people working, people like Jeff's wife, who at some stage will begin to have to decide who's going to get what and who doesn't. And that is the most horrible thing ever. And quite frankly, it's just not something that should happen in the United States of America. We put a man on the moon 50 years ago, and now we can't seem to get our shit together, and it's very disappointing. So my hope is just simply that at least now with the new administration, they can put real control in the hands of people who work in epidemiology, and they can do exactly what they have always wanted to do from the beginning, without someone interjecting and throwing themselves in front of the strategy all the time and disrupt it and interject themselves into it. I also think that Wolf has a lot to answer for the future for what he did. I think he was very derelict in what he did. He is not an epidemiologist. He's a radiologist, and he was advising. Huh?
Scott Atlas.
Oh, I said Scott. Right.
You
Atlas.
said Wolf. You said
Scott.
Wolf.
Oh yeah, that's correct.
I
Scott
believe
Atlas, correct. Yeah. So yeah, but that's who I'm speaking of, Atlas.
Yes, yeah.
He definitely
Poor
has.
Wolf. Whatever he did. Poor Wolf, whatever he did. We'll get to him later.
No, he's already lost his job and got shot outside in the middle of the street. He's done.
He's done.
But anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is that finally we'll be able to run a strategy where the people who are running the strategy are people who are best suited to run that strategy, instead of having someone who isn't suited to it, or someone who's making decisions based on how it might impact them politically. And that's just not any way to run anything. If you think about what each of you are experts at, you guys are experts at different things that I don't know anything about. And if I started interjecting into your world and telling, Jeff how to be an engineer, or Ace how to do tech things, it would be a disaster. And so, let's hope that the real minds of the United States can come to bear and get wrapped their arms around this incredible problem that's facing us right now in this time.
So I stayed up late. I stayed up too late on Tuesday night. Thank you for going through this overview. I know it's been a bit of a hurdle that we didn't want to have to do, but we have to do it, because when we all went to bed on Tuesday night, we no matter what time it was, we kind of had a hunch that maybe there was a world that was changing with a new president and a Congress that was still blue, and that a Senate that might be coming along that was actually going to happen. And at that moment, some things began to change in my mind. Some things began to change from enduring to believing, from living with the reality of where we were to the potential of where we could go, thinking about education, thinking about our economy, thinking about opportunity for all sorts of things that have just simply been ignored and denied and gutted because of a belief. And this comes up in every one of our shows, and it's going to continue to come up after the Trump era. Because one of the key pieces that we've lived with for the past 35 years or so is this lie that the worst thing that can happen is that the American government could be there to help. And so as we go into the night of moving into a blue Senate and into Wednesday that becomes Treasonous Wednesday, I slept well. I told Ace as we got going on this thing, all day on Tuesday, I had a neck ache. I was so stressed. I was, just pacing around. My family's so sick of me after this whole thing, which whatever, they were sick of me before, but it's all good. But no, I was just stressed. And on Wednesday morning, I woke up and I was like, oh, it's fight day. And I was loose and I was ready for it because I didn't know what the fuck was about to happen. And nobody else did either. And you start watching the Trump thing and then we get into the stuff. Did you guys go to bed with a new hope before we get into the Trump? And we're there after this, the blue Senate. Did you go to bed with a hope that there was this new day upon us?
Oh yeah, I smiled big. I didn't think that was possible. I thought after November 3rd, I thought we'd be lucky to pick up one of the two. I just kind of figured we'd be super lucky to pick one of the two. Warnock looked good early, but right before I went to bed, I walked by a TV at whatever that was, 2 a.m. or something. They were calling Ossoff, and I'm like, yes.
Yep.
Super excited.
It's the difference between a Biden presidency and not, right?
Right. He will actually be able to do things day one,
Yep.
That happening meant that we could have some continuity when he begins to ramp things up as his new presidency ramps up. And had that not happened, then I think it was just going to be a more rehashing of this shitty marsh of, oh, we're not. Oh, you can't have that person as an AG because of this, or I don't like that person because they tweeted that, and it would just all of us would be so annoyed. We'd be like, wow, nothing's gonna happen because they're gonna drag their feet over. Oh, they don't like our interior secretary for the interior. I mean, it'll be ridiculous. So finally, we can just move forwards and do some goddamn work for a change. I mean. I mean, finally we have a Senate majority leader who doesn't have a pile this high on his desk because he hasn't done shit.
Yep.
Couple of things, not in any particular order. I was looking. I was happy that Trump lost. This is his final loss. This might be something that they'll show the Republicans that he's not actually a winner. He actually is a loser. He loses seats for you. He's not a political genius that you tie yourself to and you win. He started this whole thing with the House, the Senate, and the presidency. He left it burnt down like he leaves everything else in his life. He's got no presidency. He lost the Senate. He lost the House. And he's no longer a winner. He can't say I attach myself and I win. And I was really worried that he was going to win at least one or two, and then he can actually be this kingmaker that he keeps on saying he wants to be. Then, I was kind of happy that I won some nice, some nice money because I thought this was going to happen. So that's also very nice.
You breathe double easy, man.
Double easy.
All right, so you double easy, we all go to bed, and so do the MAGA folk who went to Washington, D.C. We all go to bed, and then here we go. Ready? The first words that I've got for you are insurrection.
I'll let Ace go first.
I'm new to politics, and my vocabulary is terrible. So, I understand what it means, but I think Luke will probably do. I don't want to call you out, but Luke, explain what insurrection means. Can you connect? Who can do
insurrection is something like, it's when a group of people band together to try to subvert a government or some authority from power. And that's what an insurrection is. And that's what you saw yesterday.
And what's the next step of insurrection?
The foundation of it, of insurrection is secret meetings. The foundation of insurrection is no longer having transparency, but instead having a secret inside knowledge. And so what we've been seeing happening on Periscope, what we've been seeing happen on Twitter and other social media places where these guys are able to find and plan and think this out. It was a surprise attack. It was insurrection. It was as if we were on a ship and a whole bunch of the guys from the galley came up and decided to take the captain out. That's what an insurrection is. You can't do anything with those guys, man.
Does insurrection get upgraded to a coup if the president is in on it?
I don't know if it's ranked. I'm looking at the definition. It's a violent uprising against an authority or government. So I don't know if it has different tiers or levels to it, but the question is, if a crowd gets riled up and they're told that the election is rigged, and maybe I'm going to make a case for them that they are just ignorant about the details and what's going on. Perhaps in their hearts they're doing the right thing. Of course, ISIS probably thought they were doing the right thing when they started marauding around Iraq, but if they're being fed this and people act on it, and then this kind of thing happens, to be honest, I mean, of course, those who broke into the Capitol building were committing trespass, and everyone understands the concept of trespass, right?
Yep.
So, but those people who put it in their minds, those people who were screaming, what was the Giuliani quote? Let's have trial by combat. Those kind of people are the ones that need to be held accountable for what they said because people acted on it. And as Ace quoted earlier, Donald Trump said, we're going to go and walk down there together. It's all right there. I'm not a lawyer, but I feel like a lawyer would have a great case.
I mean, he definitely sent them there. He definitely sent them to the Capitol building. And he had said, you have to be brave and you have to take action and all these other things. I mean, it was, yeah. He definitely didn't say be peaceful, be calm, raise your voices, not your fists. You know, he didn't give any peaceful messages.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is it insurrection or is it a coup? If the president of the United States is telling and all of his people come up before they do this, and
most of the time, historically, a coup has affixed to it the official military as well.
Hang on. There's also something. There's one other caveat. A coup. Typically, when there's a coup, you're overthrowing something else. Donald Trump's already in power, so you can't overthrow yourself. You know, he's just trying to stay in power. So I don't know if coup's the right word. Because a better coup would be like Joe Biden gets a machine gun, jumps over the White House, and shoots Donald Trump, and that would be a coup. Because he's not in power, but he's putting himself in power. Donald Trump's already in power, isn't he?
Right.
Didn't we have the thing in Turkey a couple of years ago where the guy is in power, but the military
No. Actually, what happened in Turkey was exactly what I'm describing. Erdogan was in power. No, Erdogan was in power, and there was a coup attempt to overthrow Erdogan.
Yeah, you're right.
That's why that would be a coup.
So the key question to the insurrection question then is, who is the supreme law? And therefore Trump, because the Constitution, I'll give it the answer to save time. The Constitution is the supreme law. And so Donald Trump trying to get his people to go to Congress to interfere with the Constitution's mandate, which is on this day, they count this. Like literally the Constitution from the cartoon is sitting there going, on this day, you count this. And they're basically going over there to kick his ass, the Constitution, not the Congress, not the president versus the Congress. It's the president and his people against the constitutional process. That's why it's insurrection.
And in his speech, he kept saying things like, we need to protect the Constitution because the Constitution is America and we are America. And he just was doing all this fascist talk. He wasn't talking about keeping the system. He was talking about, we need to protect me.
The Constitution. And I have the Rudy comment if you want.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, let's bring it in because
you got a clip.
So
that was about the worst part of the whole thing.
I watched. I watched 90% of Trump's speech.
I watched all the speeches, but retroactively. I watched them this morning.
Okay, who else watched them?
I watched them.
Did you ever think during that thing that it was going to turn concession?
No.
No,
okay.
That was a flaw.
Okay.
He was talking up the crowd.
Yes, his quote is something like, we will never give up. We will never give up. We will never concede. It will never happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved. Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore. And then he went on to say the next thing, and he said, you don't show what's right by weakness. And then he went on with the marching stuff and everything else.
Yeah, I will march with you. We're going to the Capitol. All right, so fair enough. Anybody else on that?
First law I'd pass is Guilfoyle could never touch a microphone again.
I mean, the whole family was up there.
A bit loud.
So
why do all these conservatives yelling mics? I'm a sound guy, but Jesus. Alex Jones yells in a mic. He already sounds like a tire being drugged down a gravel road. Then he starts yelling.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So it did that. It went, so it was Don Jr. and then it was a lot of music.
It was Eric Guilfoyle Jr. and Guilfoyle made me want to kill myself, metaphorically.
And then a lot of music. It was a lot of DJing.
A lot of music,
from the
it was like smooth hits. I don't know what they were kind of going for, some sort of trance thing or something. I don't know what they were doing.
A lot of Elton John.
Yeah, they did put Elton John in there. I caught that.
Yeah.
Elton John into a speech that leads to something, right?
I think Elton John was right after Junior said, pick your gender, it's not our problem, don't blah blah blah. And then they played Elton John right after that. I was like, wow.
That's YMCA was in there too. So
stupid.
Okay, Luke.
President of the United.
Oh, wait, are we ready? Are we ready? So we did that, and then it was Rudy, right? I want to get this right. That's why I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was Rudy. And so marching orders came from Trump. We're going to march to the Capitol. I will march with you. And then Am I right? Then it was this.
No, it was these two before Trump.
Before they were the pre-fluffers.
They were
Okay.
right
Yeah.
before Trump.
So I got that wrong. I didn't
And
see
then
this
they had,
part.
and then there's
These were the hype
music.
men.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's hear it.
So let's have trial by combat.
Yep.
Go back, do it again, please. Who's that guy next to him?
So
It's Doctor Who.
It's Lynn Wood, is it not?
I think it is Linwood.
It's a
Who-
professor.
Who is?
let's have trial by combat.
Linwood. I can sum up Linwood's speech. It's very simple. If we're done listening to Trial by
It's
Combat.
not Lynn Wood. Nate is saying it's not Lynn Wood. I don't know
What
who
was his
it is.
name? He was a professor, and his whole thing was they load a batch of ballots into the machine, and then they wait until they see where the results are, and then they unleash from that batch the ballots they need to win the election. That's how the president's election was stolen, and how the Georgia election was stolen.
Right.
Oh shoot! Whoops,
Oh,
sorry.
no.
I was
I
the one
gave him away.
talking.
Dude, I'm sorry.
His whole thing was there's a file on the machines preloaded, and they go in during at the end of counting and turn on the number of votes they need, which makes obviously no sense based on how voting works. But that was his whole addition.
I have one more. This is the family.
Oh,
This is ridiculousness. This is not long.
he didn't have a written speech either.
They can steal. My father has started a movement, and this movement will never, ever die. It will never die.
Our family didn't get in this fight for just 4 years. We are in this fight to the bitter end. We are going to take our country back, okay?
The people who did nothing to stop the steal. This gathering should send a message to them. This isn't their Republican Party anymore. This is Donald Trump's Republican Party. We've been our own worst enemy. All you got to do is look to Georgia, where you had Republicans saying, well, I don't like the way the game is played, so let's take our ball and go home. No, guys, hey, guess what? That was music to Chuck Schumer's ears. That was music to Nancy Pelosi's ears. And that is what so many in the Republican establishment have created, that sort of mentality. Okay, we'll turn the other cheek. We'll roll over and die. We'll fold and give up. No more! USA! USA! USA!
Pre-fluffers.
Pretty good summary, I would say.
I need to go barf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. That's the whole time. So they were pre-fluffing the whole cloud, and then right as they were told their marching orders, which is why I don't. There needs to be another word than insurrection, because if Trump is involved in this, and if we find out there's police maybe or more people are involved in this, this has to be a different upgraded word than it was just a mob of people.
Well, there'll also be just dereliction of duty. Donald Trump was asked to put the National Guard into action, and apparently he refused. And I believe it was Mike Pence that ended up having to put that order through. Which, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I don't care if you like Donald Trump or you don't. If you're drowning in a swimming pool, you're a fellow American. You might love Donald Trump. I'm gonna throw you a lifesaver. It is outrageous that you would do something. You're sitting at. By the way, you told everyone you were gonna walk with them over to the Capitol. Then you went fucking home, put your feet up, watched it on TV, and you're just relishing at the carnage. Okay, and I use that word on purpose.
Yes,
and then when it starts to get completely out of hand and boil over, you don't try to do something about it. Come on. That was well, there's a couple of people who've died now, and it was completely unnecessary, and I can't believe that the President of the United States would refuse to send some help. Who wouldn't send help?
So it's noon on Wednesday. We've seen this stuff. The pump is primed. It's ready to go. The pump is primed. Okay.
Right.
The game is set. They've walked from this. We've heard reports that they were hungry, cold, tired, and pissed off, is what I've heard people say.
Yeah.
And what they
People
did,
that were there.
people that were
I
there,
think it's up to
have
5
said-
deaths, Zach. I
There's
think
5
it was
deaths.
It was 4 this morning, but the cop
Now
died.
there's a 5th death.
Yeah.
Because he had why? Because he had a fire hydrant thrown at his head.
Which, by the way, is
Awful.
more than Benghazi and within sight of the White House. Just FYI.
So it's noon. They're tired. They're pissed, but they have direction, and they don't go to the nearest McDonald's. They go straight to the Capitol. They go to the Capitol, and we've seen photos. We've
With
seen
ease. Yeah.
with ease. They go there. They get there nonchalant, and we see in different facets, different gates, where some get let in. Some end up beating the shit out of a far understaffed police force. It depends on where they come, but they go through.
They didn't even have helmets from Chips. They didn't even have motorcycle helmets. They had nothing. They had no riot gear, nothing. They're just
All right,
the
let's
cop
go there. Go there. Go
There's
there
the
right
cop
now.
there.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about that.
There's the cop there on Wednesday. Well, apparently not much more staff than they normally are. I mean, it looked like 60, 70 guys. I mean, I assume the Capitol always has 60, 70 guys.
And this is what breaks my heart, because they knew this was coming. Everyone here knew this was coming. Everyone in the comments knew this was coming. We knew this was coming for 2 months. Why? Because we watched the MAGA people talking about it, bragging about it time after time after time on several different platforms.
Yeah.
Okay. And those poor guys, the Capitol Police guys that happened to work that day, the ones that came to work that day to do their job, to swear, who have sworn their oath to protect and defend the Constitution and the property of the Capitol building, who actually do believe that they are there to serve it and protect. They left them hanging. They left them hanging on their own. It's outrageous. Those poor guys didn't stand a freaking chance. They're standing there, 2 or 3 a penny, and then out comes, so many goddamn people. They didn't have a freaking chance. And someone needs to get to the bottom of that. I saw that they were opening gates and moving fences and everything else. Not everyone was complicit, and some of those Capitol policemen were very brave because they hung in there. But that is outrageous. I feel my heart breaks for those guys who got up that morning, put their boots on, put their uniform on. They got out there, and their superiors left them hanging by themselves on their own. And then they're there, holding like a stick. And there's like 10,000 people coming down the mall.
Tim,
How dare they do that, man?
Tim,
That's
we're not even to the senators yet. We are still hundreds of yards outside. We are still at the very gates. Let's start. I mean, that's where we are. And so then we get to the steps and we get to the door. Let's talk about that.
I mean, they got to the door, and this is where one of the that's where the shot, the video I showed in the beginning. That's where one of the women got shot because basically they were at the door, they were beating down the door, and it looked like the cop at his last scenario, he fired off some shots to hold them back, and it was too late. They were outdone. We got extremely lucky for a couple of reasons. They started essentially once they're at the door, the Congress and the senator people started kind of freaking out and going. They have tunnels and things like that. But apparently someone forgot to grab the boxes with all of the certification of ballots because they freaked out. And luckily someone picked them up. I think either like an assistant or someone picked those up.
It was some of the young ladies sitting behind Tammy Duckworth when she spoke last night. Those were 2 of them. There were like 5 of them, but they stepped up.
And there's actually, interestingly enough, and I didn't get this clip, I apologize. Interestingly enough, part of Trump's speech was he was telling them where the ballots are being held. He was talking about funny boxes and how those boxes have ballots in them. I mean, it's amazing. I tried to find it. It was such a short little thing. And he's talking about, oh, yeah, they carry these boxes and certificates in them. Like, wink, wink. It'd be a shame if someone got something done. This whole thing was a setup.
I have two things. Number one, I've seen the video of the lady who got shot, and it was definitely interior. So they had gotten at least through a breezeway because there's crowds coming down a hallway. Riot cops are coming up a stairway in the same hallway as the protesters. And then on the other side, so you got the hallway, you got the stairs. There's a doorway, kind of like your classic mid hallway in like any institution. You know, it's double doors, half walls on both sides with windows. And there's a cop. I would bet heavily a cop because he's in all black with a black windbreaker, and he's got his gun drawn. And all these people are there messing with the windows and stuff. And the lady who got shot was climbing through the window, and he fired one shot, and she comes out of the window, in my personal opinion, dead. I don't believe she made it to the ground. And people started. Actually, one of the rioters breaks out a first aid kit, like a significant first aid kit. Some of the riot cops start trying to help her, but I think, based on the first few people that tried to help her, I think she was dead when she hit the ground. But obviously, it was a situation. I'm just, and this is my speculation, being that they were inside the Capitol. My speculation is this hallway was pretty important to someone's egress. That senators or somebody was egressing through this part of the building, and if he didn't stop these people right then, it would possibly affect the egress of some senators and Congress people. And let's be frank, I mean, that's obviously priority one.
Mm-hmm.
But that was, and by the way, rest in peace her. She was doing the wrong thing, but to die because of a political activity, even when you're totally wrong, it's just tragic that someone was motivated by politics to their own death. It's just tragic in so many ways.
How many Americans mourned the 17 guys who flew the planes into the Twin Towers?
Well, I think there's a slightly different situation.
Is there?
Yeah.
That will be something we're going to
get
into.
I really do.
That's going to be something we're going to get into.
I'm not downplaying. Don't get me wrong. I think we could very easily downplay the fact that they took over this building, and I do not want to do that. This was not some high school that they took over and they peed in the auditorium and left. This was the Senate. Senators were scared to death. There were senators caught in the balcony because my impression is because it was a joint session. People were up in the balcony when they normally would have been on the floor. So when they went to evacuate, they didn't have the fast evacuation. So they were. I know it's hard. Other senators were stuck in the balcony, and they thought they were going to die. I mean, they really did. So don't get me wrong. This was an extremely serious situation. I guess I'd put her in a category of patsy. She did the wrong thing, but she didn't. No one should have died that day.
So let me revisit that a second, because she texted out that night before that tomorrow will be the storm. And does anyone know what is the storm? Does anybody know? Because I know a little bit about QAnon, and one of the things the storm was the day that Tom Hanks and all of the pedophiles and politicians were going to get rolled up. And she put out on her Facebook page the night before, tomorrow is the storm. And they thought, I'm absolutely convinced that they thought that they were part of an insurrection that included the FBI getting all Tom Hanks and Ellen and Oprah and whoever the hell else is on those stupid lists. Mm-hmm. And they were going to take this thing, and Trump was going to be fucking king. So I'm asking a political science question in the next phrase, which is, was this not a shock and awe tactical attack on our Capitol?
True.
Well, it sounds like it. I mean, Ace was talking about Donald Trump's describing these boxes. He has a goal, an aim. This is what he wants them to do. That sounds very premeditated, does it not? That sounds like very thought out. I am here in my White House. Those boxes that are the impediments that I need, taken care of, I'm going to describe them. I need them out of the way. Go march up there. I'm coming with you. It sounds extremely premeditated, doesn't it?
We haven't heard this narrative yet, but when Joe Biden said the words domestic terrorism today, immediately before saying words of a president matter, guess what, gang? This is what we're looking at, and we haven't named it yet because I believe our media is absolutely junior high ready. They are not ready for prime time. They are not ready to discern and dissect like a regular Twitter user who has to sort through and suss through bullshit in first person media, rather than having 6 editors behind them telling them what to believe and what to do. They're 10 steps behind MAGA.
So, yeah, they are. And this is actually one of the things that I kind of was saying as ridiculous, as crazy as it might sound. But eventually, I think you're going to get to the point to where Joe Biden's administration is just going to have to label MAGA as a terrorist group. Because what we're also missing out from this whole thing is they found 2 pipe bombs in the Senate. They found 2 pipe bombs that didn't go off, and I saw pictures of them. They're pipe bombs. So I think what happens is with this is when we say domestic terrorism, everybody that doesn't quite agree with that, what in their head, what they're envisioning is they're envisioning those ridiculous, crazy people with the horns and people smoking pot, and they go, "Oh, come! These guys are just they're uneducated. They wanted to get high. They're hoodlums." But what we're going to find out after this gets investigated, we're going to find out that part of there was those people that are just part of the mob.
Mm-hmm.
There was the Q people that were part of a whole different mob, but there was a huge section of people there that were actual domestic terrorists.
Oh, yeah.
People that actually went on forums, plotted these things. They talked. They had other people. They made the pipe bombs.
I saw a guy last night on Periscope, some old dude last night was in Virginia, and I don't know where he was from. He was telling them, put ribbons on your arm, and here's how you buddy up, and check your car for bombs after you come back from the speech today, and make sure you got enough water. Like they've got coaches online telling them what to do today too. That was happening.
And they basically morph. They get hidden by these other crazies that are there that just want to be part of the event, but they're there to actually do the job, which was break through, get in, and cause havoc. And like Rudy did the day before when he misdialed and called the wrong senator, they wanted to delay it. All they want to do is delay everything and put cracks into democracy of, oh, see, we already stopped the certification. They couldn't do that. That's never been done. And more cracks and more things that you can do, you could start changing things.
Did you see the guys that were in on the floor that had zip tie cuffs?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
So there were several guys that had serious plans.
By the way, that guy was wearing full police uniform.
Yeah.
He might not be a cop, but he certainly was wearing a lot of cop things.
Well, yeah, definitely a high-level tactical outfit.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing else said police to me, but it was definitely paramilitary, definitely.
Although he did make a rookie mistake because he had a cell phone attached to himself right there. So when the FBI looks and sees to where his cell phone was pinging off, it'll be like, well, I can place you at that time in the middle of the stupid room, you silly idiot.
Let's just talk another piece of planning, and I know it was artistic, but the gallows that were put up, that's planned. That's literally proof that you guys brought lumber to this fucking thing.
It wasn't lashed together. It was cut wood with a cut deck. I mean, it was a plan.
Yeah. So, and all those people were in on it. They were all talking. Those are the domestic terrorists. The other people are just they're part of the environment, just to kind of crazy everything up. So when you
the cover
person, domestic terrorist, they start thinking of the Unitar guy and they go, that guy's just a nut job. But what they're missing is, no, there were people that had pipe bombs that were in that building. They deployed pipe bombs. They just didn't go off. Those were the terrorists.
In an army, there are people there who are your lieutenants. There are people there who are your cooks. There are people there who are your frontline assassins, but they're all part of the same army. And that's where we get back to the call about insurrection, in that this was a move, guys. This was not a benign, accidental mob that just happened to aim this way. This is real.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised. They followed a plot only 2 months ago to murder two governors.
You got me, Ace?
Yeah,
Yep.
check this out. This was just issued. So I'll try to zoom in. Look at this guy.
Zoom in for us, will you?
So this guy was carrying pipe bombs. Right? That's a terrorist. So that's the thing. It's not the Minotaur guy. It's this guy. That's the terrorist. So we got to make sure that we don't let the right and the Fox News go, oh, this is a nothing. They're calling it terrorist. It's a nothing. No. There were terrorists part of this whole thing.
No,
that guy.
This could have been an absolute, complete and utter horror show.
Okay, Birdman's saying it too.
Had they reached the senators and Congress, I believe it would have been an active hostage situation. Absolutely. If they had gotten their hands on Nancy Pelosi or someone else, they had already planned, if you recall, as I was just saying, to capture the governor of Michigan, and apparently later on discovered that they had their eye on capturing some other governors from other states as well, and that was about 2 months ago. So I don't know if you guys remember what happened in Mumbai at the hotel when a bunch of guys with some weapons ran around the hotel shooting everybody to death. But it could have been a scenario like that. That hotel in Mumbai is enormous, one of the largest hotels in the world. Rather like the Congress building, it's enormous. And you had these guys running around with weapons. Man, if these guys had weapons, our republic could have been in a really, really dire situation, and that's why, it's going to be one of the points coming further down is how do we address this? What's the correct response? Does Donald Trump need to be taken out of office? And people are probably going to make arguments for why he shouldn't, why he should be impeached, and all these sorts of things. But guys, I got to ask you, if this is not an impeachable offense, what is an impeachable offense? If this, there will be new presidents in the future who are nefarious as well. There has to be something where you do more than just saying, well, he's a naughty boy and he's gone in 2 weeks. So someone has to be held accountable. And maybe Ace wants to play that little footage that I have from what's his name? Adam. This is Adam. I'll just cue it up. Adam Schiff is speaking right now at the very, very end of the entire impeachment process. And there are people who made an argument that we shouldn't have impeached. And I think, thank God we did, because I thought at the time that at the very least, even if this country fell, that at least history would know that we did. There were people here who wanted to do the right thing, who tried to stop a dictator taking over and fascism taking over the United States. And now you're going to see Schiff making an appeal and say he's going to make a case for why someone needs to be held accountable for the actions even of yesterday, even though he's talking a year ago in the past. And he's also going to give a warning to everyone in the room. Who do you think's going to be next? Who do you think Donald Trump's going to backstab next? Next time it could be you or you or you. And since that time, who would have thought that he would backstab Bill Barr, Mike Pence, and people who had been doing all his dirty work, and now he's throwing them under the bus. What Schiff's going to say is why you need to hold someone accountable for this kind of tyranny.
A little bit of a shorter clip, but it'll get the point.
What is the defense to this from my colleagues? Again, it is, why should we care? He is the president of our party. Why should we care if he ignores this Congress? Well, I remind my friends that he will not be the last president. There will be another president. And you may be one day, although you do not act like it, you may one day be in the majority. And you will want to hold a president accountable. And what will you say when that president says, you are a paper tiger, you have no oversight, I can ignore your subpoenas? What will you say? What will you argue? Well, no, that was different. Then we were in the minority. Then it was a Republican president. Will that be your argument? Is that how little faith you have in our democracy, in our Constitution? Is that how poorly you defend and uphold that Constitution? But finally, let me ask this question that overrides it all. Why should we care about any of this?
There it is. There's more. I just wanted to kind of chop it down.
Yeah.
We back. So I mean, I think it's a good conversation can we go into this or we?
I think so. I'm kind of looking at the original list, and I'm going to leave.
We kind of hit them.
I might leave Merrick Garland off of it for now, and Joe, because what I think we need to do is really discuss the fact that this is quid pro quo America. When he got by with the quid pro quo in the last in the impeachment, what some of us said was, well, you're going to see this now in regular governance. You're going to see eventually, if this continues on, you're going to call the fire department, and the fire department's going to roll up like they did back in the original days of fire departments back in Tammany Hall in New York City, and they're going to sit in their truck and they're going to say, do you have enough money for me to get out of my truck? And then I'll put your fire out. That's quid pro quo America. We don't live in that country for a reason. We want commerce to work. We want to not have corruption just at every turn. And this president was allowed to get by with that. But Luke, as you said, at the impeachment, at least a line in the sand was laid down so that we had a marker to look at where we were at. And now to see what we saw from Saturday's phone call into Monday, into Tuesday, into Wednesday's leading his people to the Capitol, we can see that it's all quid pro quo, man. It's all, I got your back. You guys go take the Capitol, I'll write you a bunch of pardons. At the end of the day, I'll pardon myself. It's all about me, baby. That's what's up. We've Joni Ernst, I saw her last night sitting back there. Some of these senators, Cory Gardner, who got voted out, they supported him. They never wavered from him. And now they're shocked that this has occurred.
Yeah.
Well, because they lost. They don't have chains to him anymore. And I think that's another thing that's going to start happening. Once these chains get removed, they're going to start feeling a little bit better about not having to be chained themselves down to a guy that always brings you down to a level you don't ever want to be at. And he's not a winner. He's a thief. He steals for himself. He doesn't get you anything. He might let you take a little off the top. But when you are no longer needed, he's not interested into you. If Joni Ernst called him, he would say, I don't know who you are anymore. You're not
Kimchi's article or a comment.
That's funny because my dad got bribed in Indonesia once.
Yeah. So, but the question is, should he be impeached, the 25th Amendment, or should we just let it ride it out?
Are we going to say that it's okay?
We're not saying that it's okay.
No, we're saying it's okay. It's all right.
What you're saying. I'm
saying it. No, that's what it means.
Luke,
there's no repercussions.
Luke, what happens if you start impeachment? You're going to run out of time before you've even started the trial, right?
I don't want to do impeachment. I want to do 25th Amendment.
Okay.
I want and ride that sucker out.
Okay.
I want Mike Pence to take care of things until the 20th.
But the way I see impeachment, it's not an option. It's not.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is.
No.
The 25th Amendment.
No. What if Mike Pence says no? Well, what's your next option?
Then my first option is impeachment. Just so we can get to me in a little bit, but I'm ready to go anytime.
All right. So here's what. I don't care what you want to do or what you want to say. I just know this, that if someone shot your mom in the head, you would want the police to investigate it. You would want someone to be held accountable. And you would want that in years to come, your daughter wasn't shot in the head or someone else who was innocent wasn't shot in the head. And people need to know that you cannot do this. You can't do this in the United States of America. Don't ever, ever do that again. Don't ever do that again. And that's what needs to be done. I don't care how you do it, but someone needs to do it because this guy has spent 4 years doing what the hell he wants. And everyone else try to hold him accountable. The people in the Senate refused to even listen to a single witness. Yep. And they said, it's going to be fine. He's learned his lesson. He understands. Did he learn his lesson? Did he? Well, yesterday, he almost tried to overthrow our freaking government, and it could have been an absolute fucking fiasco. So I am not ready to just lay back and just let that pass. I'm not saying anything against Ace right now because we don't have a difference of opinion. Right. I'm just saying we got to do something, Ace. It doesn't have to be my idea or this or that or the other. but something. There has to be something tangible and something recorded in the annals of history that this cannot be cannot. You crossed the goddamn line. There's 5 dead people. You got to answer for it.
As did all of the enabling Republican Party, who needs to be filleted open like the rotten fish that the whole thing is, so that, and part of the title of this program is America Heals. We will not and cannot begin to heal unless we get to the truth and the core of this cancer. And it's a cancer. And here's my piece as we sit on tonight, and I haven't seen the news since we started, but I'm very concerned that his MAGA people are going to hit a different city tomorrow. They are all talking about that this is not over. And so in order to literally not only stop these fascists where they sit, because you cannot negotiate with a fascist, that's over. Those days have passed. Once they flip, they're gone. And so the only thing you can do is corral them, arrest them, or hold them down some way or another from hurting you and themselves, because they're a damaged good. That's what happens to fascists.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Where I'm at is impeachment is the best vehicle, because I don't give a shit if it takes the next 12 months of impeachment. First of all, he can be impeached and removed, and they can go through the process of censure, and they can investigate Pompeo. They can investigate if Congress opens this up in a committee or in a thing, they can do what they need to do and let Biden be the president and put his cabinet together and get shit done. And they can meet and vote on his cabinet and bless them and get them on their way. But we have to have a new day in this country. It cannot be a mixed bag where a bunch of Republicans don't have to look at their sins. And that's going to be the show on Sunday night, by the way. Tim and I are going to, as Lutheran pastors, we're going to walk through the 10 commandments that MAGA needs to repent of. And that's going to be a theological scope based on this very issue, because these people are deranged and they have to be brought to justice and to the truth.
Incidentally, Marty, the Senate can actually bar Donald Trump from ever holding federal office for the rest of his life.
Yes.
I just want to put that in case Ace wanted to use that one too.
Which is nice.
As an idea.
So I have nothing against impeachment. Of course, this is an impeachable act. And I mean, first of all, Mike Pence should do the 25th Amendment. But I'm guessing that's why a lot of these people are quitting. So there's not enough of them to do it because they don't want to be asked. My issue with impeachment is really, I would do a twofold. I would use the impeachment as a scare tactic and say, and be like, we're ready to impeach you, and see if he bites on it and then resigns, because resignation for Donald Trump is a much better option anyways right now. If he resigns, Mike Pence can pardon him, and that could be his way out, and he's done. My issue with impeachment, if that doesn't work, if he says, I don't care, impeach me again, my issue with impeachment is you're going to make this a political issue again, where it really should be a criminal investigation.
And censure could include taking his pardon power away and his pardons that he's given away.
But don't you have to impeach him first?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we go down that road, censure from the Senate can be anything that this criminal has done.
They just censure him without impeachment?
No.
Okay. But the problem is, if you know it's not going to pass, then you're making a criminal issue a political issue first. What I would rather do is I'd rather Congress get in and start pre-voting on Biden's appointees. And then once Biden comes in, then the House and the Senate just open up a crap load of investigations into this and bring these people, federal actual investigations, bring these people in, start questioning people that were next to Trump when he said, I don't know, no to the National Guard. Start questioning those people and really get down to the bottom of this.
Those are going to happen too. Those are going to happen too.
But I worry when you start impeaching, it becomes more of a political issue. You don't get him out, and it's a lost political issue. You're losing time.
So if you don't, I'm not going to go into a long-winded thing. If you don't spike the football hard and scare the shit out of these guys, and I know this is politically incorrect, but it's the truth. There's a reason we dropped the second atomic bomb, because it was we can go all fucking day. And they were like, okay, we're done, man. We're so done.
Actually, it took 2, but then yeah.
That's what I said. That's why we dropped the second.
That is why we dropped the second one, exactly.
Because it was like, oh my God, they won't stop and we have to stop. And it just changed. It changed everybody's attitude like that.
Right.
And that's what has to happen to the MAGA terrorists.
I have a couple questions. How do you impeach someone after they've been president?
I'm not entirely clear that you can do
I
that.
think you impeach him now and it can continue. There's no law about it.
Now it's only political when you don't have buy-in from, and it's a completely one-sided affair in terms of who votes to impeach him. But I would say right now there's plenty of Republicans, and I was quite impressed at how vocal they were, who are furious. They're absolutely livid. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to run away from something because it might look political or whatever. You do the right thing because you do the right thing. Okay, I'm not going to not arrest this guy because I'm worried about him hurting me. I have to arrest him because he broke the law and he killed someone, and I have to get in his way. I don't care if my airplane is taken over by hostages and I fail in my endeavor to save the plane. I'm going to go down fighting the terrorists, trying to stop them. But what I'm not going to do is lay down and let it go. I'm not going to let it go. And someone has to make a message and say, this is unacceptable. If you don't want to sign on it, then let that be on you. It's on you. If you let that blood be on your hands, because the history books will speak for themselves. If you want your name under John Wilkes Booth and a bunch of racists, and the racists that were governors of Alabama during the 60s and everything else, then go write your name on that wall and enjoy it and own it. And we may not do something about it today, but in 50 years to come, they'll look back and they'll see that we meant what we said. Do it for the same reason Pete Rose is. I don't know that things don't show.
I mean, my argument, I agree with that, but I'm not arguing against punishment. What I'm arguing is I want the real punishment. I don't want a fake punishment of him being impeached in the House and it just being in the history books. I want criminal punishment. And I think if he doesn't get fully removed and he essentially wins the Senate because they don't vote to impeach him, and then there's a criminal charge, it will make it look like they couldn't get me the first time. Now they're coming after me. Those Democrats are coming at me again.
Well, it won't be the Democrats if both sides are involved. I just wanted to let you know.
Your argument, hold one second. Your argument includes actually getting the process done. If you know there's no votes there and there's not going to be enough votes to remove him in the Senate, if there's not, then you're ruining. You're essentially putting a kibosh.
No, you're not.
Actual criminal investigation.
You're not. Look what happened to Shift. Right now, we have the moral authority because we told them a year ago that this guy wasn't fit for office, and they didn't listen. So now they own all this shit. We don't, because we told them that they should have done something about it. Thankfully, we went through and did the impeachment. Imagine if we hadn't. Imagine if we had impeachment right now, we would look ridiculous.
I'd like to interject one idea, which is we need to begin with the end in mind. What do we want to achieve?
We want future presidents to understand that you can't do this kind of thing.
Agreed.
I want more than that. I want to fillet MAGA in a way that recognizes that it is a Klan organization, a terrorist organization, and has been the whole time. Its rhetoric is built around a terrorist rhetoric. They've been threatening us the whole time. They just finally did it.
That to me sounds like a criminal investigation.
Okay.
I want a full criminal investigation where it doesn't look like it's partisan.
And Mike said we can do both. By the way, I don't know the legality. We can possibly do both. You could possibly impeach him and do all that, and then when you get done with that, charge him with federal crimes. I don't know how that works exactly.
I want Garland to do what he needs to do, and he needs to investigate everything. I want it to look impartial, and I want then when the criminal charges are brought up, then you will have no choice other than to support it like as a Republicans, because they're going to have phone calls, emails, they'll have chats, they'll have all kinds of things that they'll release about these MAGA guys planning this. And I'm assuming eventually it will start going up to the big guy. There's going to be a guy that's attached to Trump somewhere. He's the guy that does all the MAGA guy. There has to be. It makes no sense if there isn't. Eventually we're going to get to the guy that is the talking guy, the talking head between MAGA and Trump. There's going to have to be a guy. Is it Lynn Woods? I don't know.
The proverbial Q.
Well, it's Lynn Wood, it's Ali Alexander, it's Alex Jones, it's
Stephen Miller,
all
probably.
these people. Stephen Miller. They're all in different parts. But here's the deal. What we need to do. Let me pull back to a 30,000 foot view for a second.
Yeah.
When's the last time you watched Animal House? Whenever.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen Animal House? All right. Well,
I'm afraid not. Sorry.
Okay, it's a great Belushi movie. It's a fun thing. It's iconic.
You love it.
And you'll understand this, Luke. In the movie, the arch nemesis is a bunch of dumbass college Nazis.
Niemeyer.
Right? Like, it was such an easy comedy that, of course, the foil in the thing is going to be the fucking Nazis. And they end up beating them up accidentally, and they have all sorts of antics. Because the Nazis in 1970, whenever that was made, were understood to be the dirt of humanity still. Right. What's happened in this country because of MAGA is, how can anyone watch that movie or any understanding about these extremist right-wing fanatic theologies and groups, fascists, totalitarian assholes who will take your house and burn it down and say it's theirs. Now they're 40% of the Republican Party. We have to stop that before it becomes 70% of the country, because hate begets hate, man. And so the only way to do this is to address the philosophy and to make it so understood and to change the narrative of this country. And I don't know if impeachment or all of this is, but it has to be absolutely opened up.
I think if you take a Senate that just got put in place with a Georgia election that makes it a Democrat majority, when they're already claiming that the elections were fraudulent, and you impeach a guy in his last 2 weeks for the next 6 months, several things happen. Number one, you tie up your Congress that you just got ready to hit the ground and kick some ass. Number two, you think that's going to hurt MAGA? That's going to give MAGA jet fuel. They're going to have 6 months of protesting in front of the Capitol. They're going to have 6 months of flying flags and banners. And even if you impeach him, you still, maybe you martyred him a little bit. Where a criminal investigation, you could actually arrest people. You start dealing with people from the bottom by the time you get to the top.
You go after the head first.
You don't do you don't say, I'm not going to do the D-Day landing because it might anger Hitler. He might come after us.
They would have done anything else. If
no, we're going to do it anyway. I don't give a damn. We're going to go in. If you don't like it, you don't like it. You can get all riled up and get upset about it. But the rule of law is the rule of law, and you're going to learn that lesson. God damn it! It's the last thing that this country ever does. If you want to fight against it, then that be on your hands. This is the United States of America, and we have rules, and you follow the damn rules. If you're not a part of it, and you can go to jail. You can go to prison.
I don't think we're necessarily on the same page. I agree with everything you said. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. I would love to have him drug out of the office right now, screaming, thrown in front of the Congress, tried, convicted, sent to Leavenworth.
Yeah, but you're worried about riling up MAGA.
No, I'm just saying we have to. Just because it's the right thing to do doesn't mean you're going to get the long-term gain. You have to be strategic in your thinking. What if in your terrorist example, there's a parachute? Maybe you let the terrorist go down with the plane, you jump out the back door. You don't have to die choking the terrorist out landing the plane. We have to think about what we want in the big picture.
I have a question for the people in the comments real quick. Maybe there's a constitutional expert out there. I listened to some scholars last night, and I was trying to find the answer to this, and I was going to talk to Ace about it last night to bounce it off him. I read there's something out there that apparently if you're impeached twice, you're not allowed to run for office a second time. So if that's the case, and I'm correct on that, and those scholars were right on that, then there would actually be an extra advantage that you guys may not have factored in. about impeaching
odd.
him.
Where's Zach?
So,
Zach in here.
So I did
well, we
see
need
that-
Euro would know.
I did see that if you get impeached, as part of the impeachment, they can add any rules where they can, as part of the impeachment process, they can also say, hey, this person can't do this anymore. They can get rid of his pardon power.
There's that too. I'm talking about there's a thing where if you get impeached twice.
That's on the second end. That's not.
Well, if you get
not on the
convicted,
House end.
of course.
It's on the Senate end. But they can, interestingly enough, they can come back and censure him even if he's not in power, which is, I think, what they're going to do.
Well, they've been talking about censure without impeachment. So someone said, no, you have to be impeached to be censored.
Can
But
censure him and add in that he can't run as part of the censure.
Well, I don't see how they could change the Constitution in a censure, but I guess I don't know what censure is. They've talked about censure for 30 years. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Well, it's
I've seen it once.
Essentially, it's what they want to censure it as, I believe, where they're like, we want this and that. It's so back to Jeff. I'll just answer your question. I've been thinking about it. What I really want is for at the end of whenever this is done, for there to be no more chance of MAGA 24 of Trump 24, 28. Right. Because to have that vacuum begin now, while Rush Limbaugh is gone, and you're seeing a wounded movement with a bunch of Republican senators who are not where they were, 36 hours ago. I think that would be the best possible scenario, is for everybody in March or whenever, February, to go, oh, there's not going to be a Trump 24. That will change everything too. I don't think there is now, but I just think that that's still in people's heads.
And I get it. And I get it, Luke. I get it.
Go ahead.
I love to punitively damage him to pieces. But if you want to destroy MAGA, in my opinion, you let Trump leave office and go whimper off to Russia, wherever he's going to go, because he's a man with no home now. and you start attacking. These people went into the Capitol. These people spoke at the rally. These people physically went in the building, and that's maybe 1,000 people. I mean, you got a lot of people involved, and you start prosecuting them, throwing them in jail, and every part of the trial is going to be, why'd you do it? Well, Donald Trump told me to. Why'd you do it? Donald Trump told me to.
That's a very good.
And then at some point, you come for the big fish. You say, well, Donald Trump, we've had 1,000 trials, and everyone has said, and of course that would be part of the RICO part of getting it all lined up. But when you finally get to Giuliani and Trump, you're like, look, guys, you guys inside, everyone told us they were following your directions. And quite frankly, I've said it before, I'm not making any excuses for the guys that went in the Capitol, but isn't the president told me to a pretty good excuse? The president told me to. He's the chief executive. Why'd you break into the Capitol building? The president told me to.
I like what you're saying. Yeah,
so,
I like it.
I actually just read up on that second impeachment. This is actually, maybe I'm on Luke's side now. This is
someone else was saying second impeachment they're banned from holding on.
What they do is they can impeach him, and then when they send it to the Senate, they could do a two-part vote: one to impeach him, one to have him never hold office, which would be hilarious. Now I'm all for this, because people like Ted Cruz would be like, finally, I get what I want, and they get the vote. And
Ted would love it, because you could.
I'm
Ted
all
wants to be president.
Holly would love it.
Impeach him again, and send it in, and go, oh, by the way, here's a little treat for you guys that want to run and are afraid that he's going to keep this.
Yeah, Holy would be for it too.
And I will say, I think there's two sides to it, but impeaching him for inciting the riot on the Capitol, MAGA would part of MAGA would wither off immediately, right? Part of MAGA would be like, whoa, like that attack on the Capitol was not cool, and they're coming for everyone's heads. Like, that was very serious. Part of MAGA, I mean, maybe a third would be like, this is too much. The guys you see in the store in your neighborhood, those guys are gonna be like, this was too much. Or I'm not down for that crap.
Yeah.
Now everyone at the rally is gonna stay interested. Well, there's a secondary tactic, by the way. The long game is you let these maggots break the Republican Party, and we just feast for the next 8 years.
They have too much power. We got it. Unfortunately, I think the only way you're going to beat them is you got to put them underground.
But the power they would have is only if the Republican Party continues to caucus with them. If they keep trying to primary the mainstream Republicans, they'll eat each other, and we win.
it's still a dangerous game to play because the problem is, look at the people that were at the rally. They're your average people. This woman that got shot, I mean, she just got hoodwinked into it. Now, if you call MAGA a terrorist organization, the U.S. government, you think you think your average person that has your normal job is going to go out there and be like, oh, I'm a MAGA person? No, they're going to be gone. How many people do you see running around saying they're part of Antifa anymore?
Well, it's going to be the same challenge.
That because now the government has said you're part of a terrorist organization. You got to put this group of MAGAs underground where they have no power, and they sit underground, they chat, and then the U.S. government just monitors them for them to be like, cool, just like the KKK. All of those communities can't be out and about and going, oh, yeah, I'm part of that. That's when it becomes dangerous. You got to put them underground and control them.
Sean Maloney just posted on Twitter an hour ago. He says, we have robust and bipartisan support not only impeachment, but also for pursuing a 25th Amendment removal strategy. We must box this president in for the next 13 days so we can protect the American people and our Constitution. I will just say, when we all go to bed tonight, we have a president with a ragtag following of an army that took our capital yesterday for a few hours, and we don't know what they'll do again. And so responsible politicians, responsible Congress people right now are going to bed knowing, or sitting in their chairs working, knowing we have a national threat in the White House. There's no other way to say it.
To quote World War II, they've kind of woken a sleeping dragon. The Congress kind of liked having those MAGA people to kind of play with and poke and have fun with, until the MAGA people suddenly threatened their personal safety. And now they're like, this is not good. They've literally gotten guns in their faces, and they realize that playing with these MAGA people isn't going to work.
That's right. I just think he's going to resign. This is setting up.
That's great
to resign.
That's a good start. If he resigns, I think you just skip straight to the criminal stuff. If he resigns,
he's only going to resign if Pence gives him a wink deal where he goes, I'll leave under protest. He's just going to leave under protest, which means he doesn't have to go to the inauguration day. It's perfect for him. He gets pardoned, a pardon that is actually going to be real, not the bullshit pardon he's going to give himself, which he knows is probably inviting more trouble.
Back up. Can Pence go into the White House? Because his chief of staff can't.
He can't. I agree with Zach. Mother is probably furious right now because Donald Trump sent a whole mob after her husband. I don't know, and
I think that's the hard part is will he get?
I don't think he will.
Time without that, but I would guess he would, because Pence.
That would be pretty epic.
Why?
He resigns and Pence just doesn't pardon him.
That would be epic. Pence also needs.
Epic.
Think about this way. The other reason this also works out is Pence also has some political aspirations. He wants to come back, and the MAGA people are very upset at him right now. What better way to get Pence back on your good graces than Pence pardons Trump? It really does work out for everybody. I think he would be pressured to go ahead and go, listen, we can't have our president being investigated. And also, don't forget how many people are involved in this. Pence will definitely pardon him.
Not to mention there'd be splashback on Pence. Pence had to be involved in more things than he's pretended he was.
It's a win-win for Donald Trump. He doesn't go to inauguration. He gets a real pardon. He doesn't have to be part of it. He's done. He's out, and he's just worried about the thing.
We're going to land this part of the plane. Now I want to move into forget Trump and let's talk MAGA. Each one of us have been watching we're all geeks and we all watch too much. We all look at too much Twitter, watch too much live streaming. We've all been witness, probably everybody in this entire stream has been witness to some of the shenanigans, antics, anti-American activity that's happened by our MAGA friends or, acquaintances.
Acquaintances.
Where are we at on that, Henry? We've got some shit, man.
You have to. Well, you just got to lead by example. You've got to hold the people accountable who were involved with scaling the walls of the Capitol building. And I think if any of you were watching the remarks that were made when Merrick Garland was introduced by Joe Biden, they were talking about how the Justice Department was actually created to tackle the Ku Klux Klan. We had a problem at some point in this country. There was a cult following for the Ku Klux Klan, and it was a pest. And eventually they were able to ostracize it and make it turn into this horrible fringe thing that you don't want to be part of. Donald Trump's dad, incidentally, was in the goddamn Klan, and then later on, no one wanted to admit, hey, there were all these people in the Klan. Now it's 1940. Were you in that Klan rally like 20 years ago? Oh, it wasn't me.
Right.
Well, what we need to do is get that stench onto MAGA, and so that people start feeling, oh yeah, well, I wasn't really in it. I mean, I voted Republican because he was the Republican candidate, but I'm not into all this crazy shit. So your trick is to bring the stink and make it a stinky thing that you don't really want to be a part of.
I got the Biden.
That was my point.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you nailed it.
I love fencing.
Sorry.
There's a problem with the fencing. I love these ads.
I do too.
For Attorney General of the United States,
This is a bit long. I don't know where the right part is.
impeccable integrity.
Well, it's 2 minutes. I think he
Judge
talks about it
Merrick
towards
Garland.
the end.
One of the most respected jurists of our time. Brilliant yet humble, distinguished yet modest, full of character and decency. The Supreme Court clerk served in the Justice Department during the Carter, Bush 41, and Clinton administrations, where he embraced the department's core values of independence and integrity. A federal prosecutor who took on terrorism and corruption and violent crime, always with the utmost professionalism and the duty to the oath he swore. Nominated by President Clinton to be a judge on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, considered the second most powerful court in America. Throughout such a long and distinguished career, Judge Garland has earned the praise and admiration of members of bench and bar and politicians of both parties. And despite his busy schedule and prestigious positions, he still makes time to volunteer regularly, tutoring students in Northeast DC, as he's done for 20 years. It's about character. It's about character. It was no surprise why President Obama nominated him, Judge Garland, to the Supreme Court. As I said, he embodies honor, decency, integrity, fidelity to the rule of law, and judicial independence. To those same traits, he will now bring as Attorney General of the United States, not as a personal attorney to the president, but as the people's lawyer. He'll restore trust in the rule of law and equal justice under the law. And I fully expect, discussions I've had, that he will receive a fair hearing and swift confirmation. And once he's confirmed, I will move promptly to nominate his replacement on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. I expect that the distinguished nominee will receive a prompt and fair hearing as well.
Shepard Smith here.
I did not get that right.
Hey, Shep.
Hey, Shep.
But anyway, the short answer to your question, Marty, was just that you've got to make that red hat embarrassing, like that white hood became a fringe embarrassing thing too. I don't know how to do it because
you label it a terrorist organization, you be done with it.
You got to do something.
Okay, and this is why I bring it up, because right now there's a guy named Rob on Periscope on the top of it who says, Jesus, Trump, stop the steal. And this is what he says underneath it. Mike Pence sold out God, Trump, and the MAGA movement. Like, this is going to have to be turned on its head and not allowed for people to continue to openly speak this stupidity. And it ultimately, there's so much ignorance and stupidity in the MAGA movement that, I mean, a lot of it is you're dealing with guys that when they were kids, they failed 8th grade civics. You know, they were drawing swastikas on the front of their friggin' thing because that was what made the teacher pissed off. And the rest of their entire life was being anti-authoritarian, unlearned guys. That's part of the whole thing. They hate the elites. They hate elites.
These are folks that broke into the Capitol chanting USA. I mean, how do those two things come together?
Well, there's another piece of it
And
too.
Jesus
They were Jesus saves, but also this is mine. I paid for this. You hear a lot of that in those clips.
Yeah.
This is my property. We paid for this. You just a
Our
bunch
house.
of government takers. This is our house. That whole bullshit. Ronald Reagan.
Right.
Government sucks. I'm here to take mine.
How many
Congress.
of those people do you think have never paid income tax, by the way?
I was wondering the same thing, man.
I'm sure they're all taking a check too.
By the way, that guy that was sitting on Nancy Pelosi's desk,
Yeah.
he has a PPP loan out.
Nice.
They found his PPP loan.
That guy on the desk also said what Marty said. The guy on the desk said, "It's my desk.
Yep.
I paid for it."
Yeah.
Yep.
And he has a PPP loan. So,
So that privilege is
Yeah.
profound, dude.
I like everything Luke said 100%. Labeling a terrorist organization, the only problem I have with that is,
I
right?
think that was Ace's idea. I have no idea how to deal with this.
Right. I mean, it's
I work in
similar-
healthcare.
It's similar to calling Antifa a terrorist organization. As we all know, it's this loose gathering of people. It's a move. It's an opinion, not. They don't pay dues, so you can't find them and round them up and persecute them because they're like jelly. So what we have to do is we have to make it. We have to make MAGA equals failed attempted coup. MAGA equals sedition. MAGA equals trying to kill congressmen.
So
we have to just cut out the middleman and just be like, didn't MAGA try and destroy one of the three branches of our government?
you could do that.
Yeah. And I think Joe Biden today said, you're a domestic terrorist.
Yeah.
And that red hat that's on your head, you need to explain it now.
Yeah, MAGA, you mean the terrorist organization?
Yeah.
We could just all start saying that.
Yeah.
MAGA, you mean the
You
terrorist organization?
can't wear a white hood in the grocery store and not
Yeah.
expect to be noticed. You can't put a swastika on your chest and not expect that it means something. That MAGA hat means something.
Yeah, and what you're doing by labeling it a terrorist organization is you're trying to peel off the top of a huge section of people that are kind of into it. By the way, I would also say you do this to QAnon as well. You label both of them terrorist organization, and you start peeling off these what I would call average people that might have some mental issues, or your average people that are just they're bored and they're online, they like to read stuff. They need to be scared of these organizations. Once you label them terrorist organization, your random 30-year-old person is not really going to be interested into that. So you peel them off. You make sure that all the leaders of these groups, because there are leaders, they start going underground because now they're afraid. You think Lynn Woods is going to be running around magging it up once the U.S. government that's fully run by Joe Biden has labeled it a terrorist organization? He's going to fuck off instantly. That you got to put these people underground. You'll never get rid of them. They just need to be underground where you can control them, just like the KKK, the neo-Nazis. We have control over those groups. The problem is when they come out and say they are KKK, say they are neo-Nazis, and no one seems to mind. They just let them march. That's what Trump did. He allowed them to come out of the ground and start going, yeah, so what? And becoming cool again. You got to make sure they're not cool again.
Yep. And literally, I think I saw a scope last night that said, Trump has made us cool again. Like literally, that was the quote I heard some guy saying. It was just like, no, you're not cool, dude.
That guy, that individual has no understanding of what cool is. First of all, I've seen the clip. I've seen the clip. No, it is not. This guy has obviously not looked at his own videos of the crowd because that is not a cool crowd. I've seen cool crowds. That is not a cool crowd. That is not a cool crowd. Everyone wearing flat bill trucker caps that say "Make America Great Again" look like they've been sewed by my mother-in-law on a sewing machine in her sewing room. No, that made me laugh. Actually, I was like, if you think this crowd is cool, yeah, he said he's made Republicans cool again. He said was the exact quote.
Well, there are these incel guys that just, Henry, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, in the past, I've had debates with people on Scope and other places, and I've always said I don't think Americans have the heart for a civil war in the United States. We're too privileged. There's too much PS5 to play. No one wants to go out and get embroiled in that. People have mortgages to pay. They want to take their kids to soccer. When you go to a country, they got medication. When you go to places like Palestine and your uncle's been shot and your sister's been shot and you got nothing to live for, That's when you have civil wars and things like that, because you got nothing else to lose. We live in a beautiful, fantastic country, and maybe those guys thought it would be cool. We could like feel like it was 1776 again. But I think what happened is there was a sobering moment for a lot of people, even people who voted for Donald Trump. They watched what happened yesterday, and they looked at that and they said, "I don't like that. I don't like that. I thought I was going to like it. I don't like it. It makes me feel weird." And I agree with something that Zach said. He said it is a disgrace that the Confederate flag was flown in our Capitol. I thought the same. I thought the same thing, and I looked at that and I was absolutely disgusted, because the Confederate flag is the flag of the losers, the flag of the people that were trying to break up this country. It'd never been floated in our U.S. Capitol before, except on the Mississippi and the Georgia flag and things like that. But I think that maybe that's the way, getting back to what Marty was saying, of reconditioning people and explaining to them, this is what America is. This is what we stand for. This is what we believe in. Maybe you need to go, have better civics classes. But we reject the Confederacy. We reject anti-government stuff. We reject all that stuff that's trying to break down and destroy the United States of America. Go on, Ace. You got something?
Sorry. Thanks, Ace.
This is what I'm talking about. You do this kind of stuff. This is how you get rid of MAGA. You do this. FBI, look at what they're all wearing. There you go. They're looking for these people, and look at that.
Fucking studs. Look how cool those guys are.
So then you label this, you go, look,
bunch of white hoods,
3, 4, 5, 6 people wearing MAGA hats. This is now a terrorist organization. If you
zoom in, Ace, make them famous, dude. Let's give them each their due. Here we go.
Yeah.
If this guy talked to this guy and talked to this guy and talked to this guy, they are now a terrorist organization. Yeah, that's
white hoods.
So what we're looking at here also looks like a entire army of Unabombers,
right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that goes to a separate topic sometime, I think, is why we have all these older, lonely, angry men, but that's a separate issue.
And look at how many there are now. I mean, these are number 34 or something. They're full trend now on looking for these.
And people are good at this stuff, man. They find people quick.
There's more right here. There you go.
Yeah, that was like whatever, 34 through 36 or whatever.
Let's take our time. This is a public service. Seriously, no joke.
If anybody knows these people, but look at how many MAGA hats there are.
This dude in 17 is the guy that chased that cop.
Oh, let's talk about him for a second. We know who he is. He is, I don't know his name, but he's a bricklayer for a company in Des Moines, Iowa. KCCI News in Des Moines found him out, knows his name, contacted his company. He's been let go. He's completely been identified. I don't know if he's been arrested yet or not, but he's the guy that chased the cop up the stairs.
Yeah, I recognize.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. What? Remember when the BLM demonstrations were going on? They were like, if you just follow the law or obeyed the police, and this guy's chasing policemen upstairs. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Right.
Now you got the Q people, right?
Let me jump. Yeah, there we go.
That's the Q people right there. So get them in there.
Yeah, they stole the police shield. We saw some of that happen, didn't we?
They slashed the tires on that truck in front of the Capitol building. You guys probably noticed that.
I missed that.
The black pickup truck was sitting real low in the front, and the side we could see was flat. Now that's a $500 problem. But
now they also found somewhere a truckload of Molotov cocktails.
Molotov cocktails. Yeah, I heard that. Just to be clear, that Ashley lady gave the cop no choice. It's just still tragic that I can't celebrate someone being dead. I'm sorry if that's.
I'm not celebrating it, Jeff.
Yeah.
I'm not, but I'm also not gonna mourn it. That's the difference. Is that we cannot abide and bend over and allow the normalization of a terrorist move to break our hearts. It's just we have to be stronger than that, and that's part of why our media seems to be surprised that we can have this sort of a dark situation in our culture. And, they're just like, oh, it's just amazing. If you'd been watching what was happening on Twitter, if you'd been watching any of this stuff, let alone Parler, and I'm not on Parler, but I know what's
you
going
won't find me on that.
No, you won't find me there.
You won't find me on there.
I don't eat glass either.
This guy.
I don't sprinkle salt in my eyes either.
Right?
Yeah.
But what's going on over there? Those people feel free to say what they want, man. And it's all about, there's no censorship over here, bro. It's true America. Well, guess what?
Whatever. Well, fortunately, there's a lot of closed circuit TV in DC. They'll probably be able to keep going backwards on this guy and go backwards and backwards.
This guy, if you want, 50 grand. Look at that reward.
There you go. You want some Q money? That's the first time you'll get any. Go get some.
I'll tell you what. If I could find that guy, I would find him. I'd take the 50 grand and give it to the Southern Poverty Law Center so they could find more of these guys.
There you go. Hire a private investigator to find the rest.
Or get a bunch of 11-year-old kids who are really good with cell phones and all the new technology.
So that's FBI Washington Field, right? That's the Twitter account. So we should all take time tonight. I mean, I appreciate what we just did, but we should all take time tonight to really honestly go picture by picture. I mean, because that's how these guys get identified. Is somebody like us goes, I went to high school with that fucking dude, you know?
Yep.
Because some of these guys have laid low. Some of these guys have been doing this for a long time, and they've laid low for a long time. And it's going to take someone who literally is like, I knew that guy when he was 12. I know exactly who that is.
Yep.
I saw that guy on Periscope.
Yeah, I saw that guy on Periscope.
Again,
right.
all of these guys are talking to each other, and they're doing this, and this guy has a pipe bomb. It's now an official terrorist organization, and this is exactly how you get rid of MAGA forever. And then you get rid of all these senators that are pro-terrorist organization.
Okay, that's the next one. And Ace, cue it up when you get a chance. There's no rush. Let's turn the page. I guess we're getting late here. But let's turn the page real quick to the Congress that we have. We have 40% of the Republicans in the House of Representatives are, I mean, they're part of their policies support the insurrectionists.
Yeah.
So I watched this interview with this gentleman. He's a congressperson. And the interview is amazing. Everybody should go and watch it. But this is the end portion, and you could see, he's really going to show you how he's struggling with his with the people he works with. It's really sad.
So well from the insurgents' perspective today. Do you have any questions in your mind about what the level of preparation was here, and some very concerning items of interest about video where it seems like they're being let through barricades and there is a familiarity with these protesters, selfies being taken, and obviously the concern is that if they were all black, you think this would have gone the same way?
I do have a lot of concern about this, and we're going to take this very seriously. There was a failure. There's no two ways about it. I do appreciate the officers who were there. Don't get me wrong. They put themselves, many of them, I saw them draw their guns and protect me. And I'll thank them for that. But there was clearly a lack of preparation. There was clearly this sense that this particular mob has a different character to it than other much smaller groups of people that had the National Guard called out on them. Where was the National Guard this time? Where were they?
Well, there's a selfie picture up on the screen now, of someone taking a selfie. And then there's video and other images of the rioters being allowed into the Capitol, being moved beyond the barricade.
I saw that.
I've got to ask you, since we're talking about this, and I've been wanting to ask you since I got here. You're talking about, you said it's happening in certain states, right? But it's happening in certain states and precincts that are predominantly in cities and black precincts. What does that say to you about the motives of the president and the motives of your colleagues to pick urban areas, cities that are predominantly black to contest?
Look, we know what this is. I grew up in Flint, a minority community, and we know what it means when they talk about Detroit and Philadelphia and Fulton County.
Atlanta, yeah.
Look, they know what they're doing. Their dog whistles are well heard by those people who stormed this place. This is the 21st century reincarnation of Jim Crow. They can't erase that. They can't rationalize it. These members of Congress who voted for this, who supported this, and these senators have put their name on a list with Orval Faubus, with George Wallace, and Connor, instead of a list with John Lewis and Fannie Lou Hamer and Martin Luther King.
Do you tell them
They chose today. Absolutely. They made their decision today which list they are going to be listed upon for their children, for their grandchildren, for everyone. And I'm done with these people. You know, this idea that we do need to come together. I love people. I'm willing to work with anybody. But there are certain lines that get crossed that just cannot be forgiven. And I will not forgive these people until they come to reconcile their own wrongdoing and apologize to us for putting us in this position. Not just me being threatened physically, but the threat to our democracy is real. This is not a guaranteed democracy. It can fall apart. It can crumble. We saw evidence of that today. And these members of Congress walking around patting themselves on the back as if they're some sort of hero. Give me a break. They're cowards. The only reason they did this is their own cowardice. They are afraid of the voters that they don't want to offend who wear the red hats. Shame on them.
Gorgeous. This guy's video, by the way, look it up. That's his name right there. The whole video is 9 minutes. It's amazing. I don't think we can watch the whole thing, but he speaks like we all speak, and it's all really hard for us, even me, because I want to get back to work. I want to get things done, but it is very hard to go to some of these people, even if you're Joe Biden, go, oh yeah, Howley, let's get a deal done, even though you were trying to get me out.
This is my shit list. This is all the senators that voted for objections. And then my boy Roger Marshall gets the hat trick because he also signed the Americus brief because he was a rep when that came through. So he's the only guy in Senate to have a hat trick, 2 objections and the Americus brief. So remember Roger Marshall from Kansas. Next time you want to pick out a Republican to hate.
You want to read your shit list?
Yeah. Sure.
Well, but before you do, explain that it's not a hit list.
No,
it's just a shame list. A list of shame.
No, this isn't. This is not people. No one should hurt
a list of shame.
Correct. So the Arizona objections was Cindy Hyde-Smith, Joshua Hawley. I like to call him Howley shit. Roger Marshall, Ted Cruz, Tommy Tuberville really came in with a splash, and John Kennedy, the guy who likes to play like he doesn't understand rules all the time to get anyway. Then you got for Pennsylvania objections, you got Cindy Hyde-Smith, Joshua Hawley, Roger Marshall, Ted Cruz, Tommy Tuberville, and then Cynthia Loomis and Rick Scott. So John Kennedy dropped off Pennsylvania, and Cynthia Loomis and Rick Scott joined. And the Americus brief is a whole bunch of people, but happens to also be Roger Marshall because he went from being a rep to being a senator. So he managed to ring both bells.
Without those people and the others who had threatened to object as well, there would not have been this imaginary line that this whole party could have revolved around. There would have not have been a speech in the morning. There would not have been a bunch of people coming to town because there wasn't anything for them to do.
Yeah.
Correct.
Cold early January day.
He was selling, let's go cheer on our guys and let's go attack the guys that are against us. That's what he was selling them. By the way, Howley just lost his book deal.
Yep. Yeah, I heard that.
People need to be shamed and put back into the ground and shamed for this, and make sure that we remember next time Ted Cruz runs that he was a supporter of a terrorist organization.
So we shamed people in other times, and it's worked for a while. Are we smarter now? Can we identify them in different ways than just shame now? Can we recognize their misogyny? Can we find and hold on to their racist comments in a way? I'm just asking. Because if you can go back now into every comedian's life and ruin their career, but you can't somehow do the same thing on a Republican who's been supporting MAGA up until now. So when can that occur and how?
Well, now they can't hide from this. The good news is with YouTube and these videos and these votes, and I have a suspicion once Biden gets in and they start investigating this, we're going to find out that a lot of these people were a little bit more than just supporters, vocal supporters, that they were more part of these groups, and they engineered some of this stuff. And that's when you really go in, not just saying, you weren't just a MAGA fan, you were part of these groups, and really get down to brass. Also, a lot of these people like Ted Cruz, they've been briefed on this stuff as well. We're going to find out that Ted Cruz was briefed that these MAGA organizations were turning into white supremacist and terrorist organizations while he continued to do it. So a lot of these people have been briefed on a lot of this, and all of this stuff is going to start coming out. And this is what I've always told all the Republican people and some of my Republican friends that kept on supporting. I said, you're going to have not really egg on your face eventually. It's going to be really disgusting what you're going to have to go, I didn't know, because you're not going to be able to get out. This is your children, your grandchildren are always going to ask you why you supported this when you knew for a fact that it was bad at its core. And more stuff is going to come out, and you're going to have to own all of it. And we're going to tell you, we knew about this. We told you, and you said you didn't care about it. Now you do, and we're going to have to. It's going to have to be. I don't know if shaming is the right thing, because shaming also has a kickback as well. Because if you keep on shaming people, they'll come back with a vengeance.
But I would argue that we've moved into an era where we don't have shame anymore. I mean, Trump has unshamed these people. That's part of his gift to them.
They like him because he says what they say, what they used to be able to say out loud, and then they were told you can't say that kind of stuff out loud anymore because it's wrong. It's either misogynistic or racist or whatever they're saying. And then Trump comes out and all the grabbing by the pussy stuff, and they go, I like this guy. He's saying the stuff I used to say out loud but was told not to. That's how you bring these guys out of the ground. They need to go back and talking to this quietly. You're never going to get rid of the people, but it needs to be more not common to talk about this kind of stuff out loud.
I don't know if it'll be Trumpster or Trump-publican. There will be a term in the next 6 months where things will come in front of the House and someone will start talking or arguing or whatever, and Democrats will be able to stand up and go, "You sound like a Trump-publican. You sound like you're not a real Republican. You're not a real congressman. You sound like a Trump loyalist." And I think as Trump hopefully loses popularity, as he becomes less and less interesting, as he just rants and raves in the corner, hopefully, I think the idea that you were ever friendly to Trump will become more and more and more of a pariah. Hopefully, I mean, obviously, I'm shaming Roger Marshall as hard as I can. First 3 things he did was pat Trump right on the giblets. So I'll never forget that. It's 6 years till he runs again, but I'll be all over him in 5.5 years. I'll tell you that.
Henry, bring this home. Bring this home, dude.
With respect to
what the fuck do we do? What the fuck is it? Shaming? Is it more than that? What do we do?
I have a prayer. Can I add a prayer while he's answering?
Yeah.
Maybe when you start criminally investigating, you find either a legitimate, like, actual Russian connection, like Q is actually an intelligence operation from Russia, something that really slices their head off. Or number 2, if it's not Russian or whatever, it's neo-Nazis or white supremacists or somebody jumped in the driver's seat and they unknowingly have been following Nazis, white supremacists, Russians, whatever it is, this whole time. That would really chop their freaking nuts off. Of course, they probably wouldn't believe it.
They won't believe it, but you gotta scare them into hiding.
Yeah,
that's all you can do.
Well, I'll tell you what. White people are quite a proud bunch of people. We're a privileged bunch, and we're very proud. And in some places, like being arrested, it might be a point of pride or something like that. But white people, when you start seeing people get arrested, and there's a lot of shame in getting arrested and thrown in jail, and I'll look it up in a second. But there's a letter that's been written by someone who has contacted his lawyer because now his face was recognized in the footage, and he's got a lot of answering to do. And he's called up his lawyer, and in it he talks about how he's very apologetic. He got caught up in the moment. He feels dreadful about what happened, He wants to beg the American people for forgiveness. He feels bad that he entered the hallowed ground of our Congress and desecrated it. And I'm like, and I look at him and I hear that and I think now he's worried about going to jail. And a lot of these people will. And I think that, you know, they like, you know, they you know, when you can be associated with something and you let down your family and you let down your church and you let down your community and you're, oh, did you know the neighbor on the street? He was arrested. He was part of that whole thing. You know, he was near where the pipe bomb was found. No one wants to be a part of that. Now, the underground people, those seedy people who don't care about anything, they'll always be like that. They're like pirates. They don't care. But the vast majority won't. And when that gets part into the, I hate to use the word mainstream because it's so misused today, but when that becomes part of the normal lexicon, people will be like, yeah, I'm not a Klan guy. Please believe me. I've seen there's so many examples of John Lewis talking about how people who were so racist back in the 60s have came across him in the 80s and 90s, and they apologized and they said, hey, I want you to know I feel terrible about the things I felt, the things I thought in the past, and I feel ashamed and I'm sorry. And he forgives them. And I think that's probably how it's going to go down.
So I'm going to wrap it up for tonight or begin wrapping up and just a reminder of exactly what that's going to be about on Sunday night. We might have some other folks come in later on in the show because they might need to, depending on what happens. But Pastor Tim and myself, a current pastor in Denver, Lutheran pastors, we are going to discuss some of the, and I don't proselytize. I'm not asking people to join my church. I'm doing it from an academic standpoint to discuss some of the things that need to be unpacked for a MAGA person to actually go through that forgiveness. Because Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was one of the last people that Hitler killed before he committed suicide, and he was a Lutheran theologian who tried to kill Hitler. He tried to blow up his plane, and he was put in prison for a long time. And he wrote a lot of books, but one of them was The Cost of Discipleship, and it changed it changed Christian theology for the 20th century. And it dealt with the concept that cheap grace was part of the fascist motif. In other words, it was really, really, really fucking easy to get off the hook by just saying, oh, I'm sorry, I changed. I didn't really know what I was doing. And it was just like, oh, because of Jesus's forgiveness, you're forgiven. And Bonhoeffer's argument was that to forgive someone is a price tag. It's like, oh my God, how do I repay this thing I've done to you? How possibly could you forgive me? And to cling to that forgiveness takes a lot of energy, time, wherewithal, pain, struggle. That's what I'm going to get into on Sunday night, because I believe this year, post-Trump, following every other Nazi or fascist participation, will be the year of cheap grace. And we will watch it over and over again of people trying to get off the hook without really describing the depths of what they've done. And so we won't let them off the hook on this show. This is going to be a show where we're going to look deep down at some of these people all year long as we come out of this experience. I hope this is the last attack on our country that Trump and his MAGA band of people are going to do on our country, but I don't know until Trump is gone. We've lost that trust in our government today. Final words on this Trump stuff, before we go into NFL predictions for the weekend of the playoffs, if we can do that.
You're absolutely right. It's all of these people are going to either just say they're going to either lower their bar or change their word. They're going to say, "Oh, I wasn't really part of that," and that wasn't. They're all going to, like Betsy DeVos. All of a sudden, she clutches her pearls.
Yep.
And fucks off.
Yep. Kids in Cages didn't do it though.
Yeah, Kids in Cages. That wasn't enough, and all the other stuff. But we need to remember when they left. When we start hearing exactly what they actually talked about, and we'll start getting emails and notes and things like that, and we find out that they were all part of it, we need to know what's up. And although I don't mind John Kelly, but John Kelly now is talking big words. Get let's do the 25th Amendment. Before I could become a fan of John Kelly or even respect him, I'm going to need to know a little bit more inside information. And once the investigation come out and he knew about children, he said nothing, and all this other stuff, then we'll make a decision on how much we can forgive some of these people and go, okay, whatever. You didn't really do much. Let's move on. Stephen Miller is still employed, and he's a
my God, that guy's
he knows he's an actual white supremacist that has never said he's not a white supremacist.
That's right.
Still employed. Never got rid of him. So that's the issue.
So that's a thank you, and that's why I brought it up, is because Sunday night we're going to take that on. I know there may be other stuff that happens in the second half of the show. I might bring some people on that need to be on at that time, but we have to do that. I told Tim this the other day. We have to do this because this is going to be on our docket now. And without, Ace, what you just said, without the process of undoing and naming some of this stuff, it's going to go by, and then it doesn't leave. Then it doesn't go into shame, and it doesn't clutch our pearls. It just kind of gets, it's just politics. Both sides do this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a prediction. Within the 24 hours of Trump's statement, he will make some asinine statement that reverses his statement. Because if we remember Charlottesville, he had a public statement. I denounced violence. I denounced racism. He actually did. You may not remember it because he immediately came down the elevators and said, great people, really good people on both sides. You also probably don't recall the next day. He got back out in front of cameras. I denounce violence and racism in all its forms. So he's done this over and over and over and over and over again, and I know he will do it in the next 24 hours, unless his Twitter's still blocked and he doesn't have anybody to talk to. He will come out and say, this election was stolen from me. I'll never concede. It's unfair. Because if you listen to his speech, he actually never concedes. He just says, I know there'll be a transition of power that I will participate in peacefully. He never said, I give up my claims to the election. Biden won. He specifically does not say that. So that's my bold prediction is Trump will reverse what he said tonight, which was, by the way, almost perfect, because someone obviously said you're about to get killed by everyone in the freaking country if you don't get this straight. But he'll reverse it. He's not smart enough to keep it straight. It's not his thoughts. He'll reverse it within 24 hours.
I will clip that for next week. Well,
guarantee it.
Marty, what's your prediction? And then we'll go to NFL. We jump to the prediction.
We'll jump to the predictions.
All right.
I don't know. I'm not up yet. I don't know. I'm not sure.
We'll come back.
Actually, I do.
Prediction in because I may have to go.
Okay, good. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Ace, go ahead.
Well, let's do the NFL. Share my.
I got a prediction.
Okay, let's go.
Which
are we doing the sports one or the political
Let's do your political prediction first.
Political prediction.
Yeah.
My political prediction is that it was calculated. I wrote it right here. It was calculated, and it was a plot. It won't be something that Ace is going to be able to replay in a week's time. It might be a couple of weeks, maybe a month and a half. But my prediction is that it was calculated, and this was a plot. This wasn't spontaneous.
My political prediction is going to be Trump is going to resign.
Ooh, wow.
He's going to resign. It's the perfect. Everything to him is a play. It's a political play. It's a perfect play for him. It's a perfect play for actually everyone involved. As long as he can get a pardon, which I think he will, it's a perfect play. He's going to resign. He's going to pardon his kids. He's going to resign. Pence is going to say something about we got to let this whole thing move on and get on his grand horse, and he's going to pardon him. And it just makes total sense for actually everybody other than, of course, us. But they're just going to resign. It's perfect for him.
So my prediction, I guess, if you want one, is that there will be ramifications for the members of the House and potentially Hawley and Cruz in the Senate. But I think the members of the House, I think Nancy Pelosi, I don't know if she will expel them. I don't know if she will be able to do that. but I think that the 40% will be addressed in some huge way that hasn't happened in a long, long time. And if it was me, I would expel them on the 14th Amendment. The day that Trump is out of office, I would focus on Congress, and I'd get rid of every single one of them that sponsored the objections, including the leader of the minority, Kevin McCarthy. So that's my piece.
All right.
I don't know if it's a prediction, but by God, it needs to occur, and I will be the one to cheer it the hardest when it happens. So,
sports predictions, Ace.
Predictions. You want to share my screen? I got you.
Yeah, dude, that will help us out. Okay,
it's not like the best one that I can find, but
that's fine.
First one we got is Colts versus.
I'm gonna go Bills.
You're gonna go Bills. Okay,
yes, sir.
I have a feeling, and I actually might put some money on this. I have a feeling the Colts will pull it out. They have a really good running back, and I think the Bills. I think the Bills. I don't know if they're quite ready. They've been so hot, and usually hot teams that win 10 in a row, when they're down by like, let's say they're down by 10 points. They don't really know how to get out because they haven't really struggled. They've been blowing everybody out. And I think it's not a great scenario for them if they are down and the Colts can hold the ball. So
Colts have a good defense too.
The Colts have a great defense. So I'm picking the Colts.
Awesome.
I will be putting money down on the Colts as well.
Is there a line? What's the line? Do you know?
Yes, the line is, I did have that pulled up. So it's a good line, too. It was a much better line. Sorry. So the Colts are plus 240.
Oh, wow.
So it used to be 350. And they're plus 6.5.
Okay.
So you could probably just bet the money line. The next one is going to be the Rams against the Seahawks. An interesting game because the Rams might not have their quarterback. We don't know if he's available. So there's a chance that they don't have their quarterback. The Rams currently are only they're plus 155. The Seahawks are favorite, but they're minus 175, 3.5 points. So which is interesting because you would think a team that might not even have a quarterback would be huge.
All right, so Marty, you're going with?
I'm going to go with the Rams. I think Goff will be there, and I think they'll win the game because I just think they will.
Ace, you're going with?
It's got to be the Seahawks. I mean,
I'm going Seahawks too.
They don't have
Next.
Fair enough.
It's the Seahawks. This one is a little easier.
Washington football team.
We got Washington. We got a football team without a name.
I love it.
Buccaneers are minus 400. Washington is a plus 300. The Buccaneers are minus 400. Heavy favorites. 8 points.
All right.
I'm gonna pick Buccaneers. I think they're gonna be blowout.
Marty,
I was gonna say Buccaneers, but I honestly think the Washington team is really good, and I think that they will run the ball and eat clock and change it up. And I think they're gonna win the game. I think Washington needs something to cheer about.
I'm going with Washington football team. Next.
Wow. Okay. The next one. We got the Baltimore Ravens against the Tennessee Titans.
This is the big game.
This is a big game. Titans, Baltimore's favorite, minus 175, 3 points. Titans are plus 155, 3 points. So they're saying it's a close game. It's going to be Baltimore. I don't think the Titans can stop Baltimore. The Titans have been up and down all year, and they lose to teams like Cincinnati, teams that they should never lose to. So I'm going to say
I got Baltimore too. I got Baltimore.
I got Ravens as well.
Yep.
All right, next.
All right. Then we got the wild card. This one is a little bit, I think, easier. We got Chicago against the Saints.
This is a special one for Ace.
Yeah, that's one. So heavy favorites, 10-point favorites. The Saints are minus 500. Chicago plus 350. I got the Saints. They're going to
seems like more of an investment than a bet.
Wait.
I got the Saints.
Hang on. I need to hear Ace say that again.
I would bet on the Saints because
Ace hates the Saints. Guys.
I hate the Saints.
He's the most hated team.
So, but I don't think I don't think the Bears can beat the Saints.
I got the Saints.
I got the Saints.
Then we got this one. This disaster of a game. It's Cleveland against Steelers.
Rematch of last week.
Revenge of last week. Cleveland does not have their coach. They are plus 225, 6-point underdogs. Steelers are minus 275, 6 points. I think Steelers are going to roll the Browns. I don't think it's going to be close. They're going to get this.
Okay. What you got, Marty?
I'm Steelers all the way.
I'm going with Browns.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. And just for a laugh, since it's so damn early, who have you got for winning it all?
I would say it's going to be
Chiefs.
I think it's going to be the Chiefs too.
I got Washington football team.
Oh,
Alex
riding it all the way
with Alex Smith. And then the last game is Alabama. If we're doing predictions, we got Alabama versus Ohio State. That'll be a big game.
It will be.
I got Alabama. And if you guys want to make some money, bet Alabama money line on the half. They're plus. Let me look that up. So Alabama has covered this every single time of the year, all of the year. They've covered their half number. Their half number right now is +5. It actually grew. It was +3. So as long as they scored more than 5 points at the half, they're leading by 5 points or more. You can get a lot of money. You can get a good chunk. Let's see, what is that equal to?
Everybody likes money.
$5. You can get 95% on your money. They're going to cover that easily. They've covered every single time this year.
This week I've been betting on Bitcoin and winning, so that's a whole other story.
Okay. And then
all right, guys.
That's all I got.
That's it.
That's what we got. It's been a show. It's 3 hours. We didn't expect it to be 3. We thought it'd be 2. Everybody, thanks for being here. Thank you for committing to the conversation. Guys, last words? Anything before we go?
Stay safe. I think it's probably going to be a crazy week, but I think it might be kind of a crazy, fun political week in a way where we find all of these people are going to be jumping off the ship as fast as, and we're going to be a little bit reveling in it as we were right the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just going to say good always triumphs over evil.
Yeah. The light shines in the darkness. That's something like that.
Yeah.
So thank you all. Thanks for being here. Get sleep, get nutrition, get exercise, stay free from COVID as you can, wear your mask, love your people, and be honest with yourself about where we are. And, we're going to get through this. Thanks everybody for being here tonight. Have a good one.
Follow us.
Peace. Follow us. Yeah, follow us too. Thank you. And like us, and follow us, and send your people all this stuff. This is what we're doing.
Follow them.